Hello everybody and welcome to another beautiful SMITE update show. I am Titan Dandy and I'm honored to be here to introduce update 11.2. But I'm not here doing it alone, obviously. I've never done it alone because I would drown. I have two amazing people here to help, Lermy and Chaos. Welcome aboard, y'all.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Super excited. Y'all ready for a wonderful Valentine's Day update show?
There's a lot to get through in this one, so I'm very excited.
There's a lot. Well, I'm super excited for it. I hope all of y'all have a wonderful Valentine's, whether you're queuing up with your partner or, I don't know, sending those really fun cards on Twitter all the time. I didn't get one yet, so I'm kind of sad, honestly. I hope that y'all have a wonderful day, but we're here to really talk about what we love, and that's SMITE. So I'm going to start off doing the same thing I always do. I'm going to talk a lot. We got a lot of cool things for me to run through. Starting off with community events, I'm sure as a lot of y'all have noticed, 10 million gems are back. We're giving away 10 million gems again between now and the beginning of next month. So we have plenty of time left, and it's happening every half hour. All you need to do to enter is play a game of SMITE. Complete any game. Of course, that doesn't include, I think it's jungle practice and bot matches or something like that. It's written down. There's a blog. Check it out if I said that wrong. But all you have to do is complete a game. So queue up, play some arena, some joust, hit conquest, the ranked grind. And then maybe on the half hour, you'll see your name pop up announcing that you are the winner of 10,000 gems. Again, that is 10,000 gems every half hour. Until the beginning of next month. So you have a lot of time. You have till March 1st. So hopefully you win. Either way, I'm loving seeing all the names roll across. It is always so fun. So next up, we got a little merch announcement here. So we've released a lot of cool merch in the past. It's one of the things that I'm proud of is how cool our stuff is. And we have a new addition to the plushie collection. We have the Cthulhu plush. Super excited about it. The Cthulhu plush is so good looking. I'd have one right here on the desk with me if it was still here, but it's been traveling recently. So Cthulhu is a worldly creature and will soon be available to all. Actually, might even be today, so keep your eyes out for that. Check our Twitter and get yours as soon as you can because they are fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite plushes we've done. Not biased because I'm a Guardian fan or anything. So, next, I want to touch on a little quality of life thing. I know, quality of life, it's been a while since I've called it out, but this one's just really cool. We added some voice lines to the pre-match areas from everybody's favorite lore lady. So Suhaila, who I hope some of y'all got a chance to meet at SWC, we've added 2 new voice lines in the pre-match lobby that say pick your god or select your god, and those happen when it's your turn to make a god selection pre-match lobby. So just a really cool thing with Newt coming in, and we'll talk about Newt later, but just, you know, shout out to the lore lady, to Suhaila, because amazing work, super cool thing we got to add in there. And last but not least, in my tirade of talking, we have some really cool news about an event coming up from our wonderful esports side. So it's, you know, Worlds came and went. We had to take a breather, you know, plant our feet again. People who didn't sleep for weeks had to do that, sleep for a little while. But now we're back and we have something really exciting. We have a Creator Cup on the way. I wanted to make sure I said the name right? Too many C's for me. But the Creator Cup is on the way, and this is going to be really cool. So content creators are going to form teams with their subscribers, with people from their community, and we're gonna have a tournament. We're gonna play it out with all of these people. So I mean, it's really cool. The event's gonna run on weekends, starting in March, concluding in June. So it's gonna go for a while, and the teams will be playing for a charity that they help choose. So we're going to work together with the teams, get some charities chosen, and the winner is going to benefit the charity of their choice. So let's talk about some of the format we have going on. And it's here on screen, but we have 3 weeks of open bracket, 3 weeks of group play, and then 1 weekend for the final bracket. And the top 4 teams are going to have some cool stuff come their way. They're going to get a trip to Titanforge Studios in June to play in the LAN. So they're going to be here in person playing live. They're going to get some behind-the-scenes tour of the studios, just a little look around where all the magic for SMITE happens. A donation to the charity of their choice, with the amount being based on the final seeding. It'll ebb and flow a little. Some access behind the scenes to SMITE 2 development. Get a look at some of the process we've been working through as we continue tirelessly to bring SMITE 2 to life and make it the best SMITE experience ever. And some other loot and goodies as well, because you can't come here and leave without picking up some loot, you know. Plenty of loot to be had around the office. So super excited for this. Again, keep your eyes on the Smite Pro Twitter. Keep your eyes between that and the Smite Game Twitter. We'll make sure all the announcements hit y'all as we continue to progress towards the kickoff of this. Or if you're interested in signing up with your community, that stuff's on the way. But it's going to be really cool. Like, this is the type of stuff that's always so fun, bringing people in for tournaments like this. I couldn't be more excited, and I hope that y'all are excited as well. We're looking forward to getting into that a little later in the year. So now we're diving into some of the update, or some of the meat of the update, kicking it off with some of the skins. So it's time. It's 11/2. That's the time for us to show off something that you can't get for the rest of the year. We have the Commendation skin coming y'all's way. So first up, we have the Golden Luster Bake Kujira skin.
Dude, this skin is so sick. I know we pick a different god every year, and usually it's the one that's been released, in the past year of Smite. But this is such a good choice. I mean, he just looks so, cool and
in his
ethereal.
element.
Yeah, no, literally in his element, especially in this art as well. I mean, magnificent.
I don't know who the whale caller is down there, but me. That's me. I'm about to get eaten probably, but super cool. So yeah, don't get banned this year. Be on your good behavior. Play, be a good teammate, and you will earn the skin for yourself as the commendation reward for this year of Smite. So super excited for that, and good luck in your matches and being a good teammate. Next up, we're getting into a new chest coming with the 11.2 update. This will be the Cosmic Tyranny chest coming with Cosmic Thrawn Hades.
Yo. Okay.
Look at Hades.
This perspective is kind of wild, right? He's got a galaxy in his hand.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, you're next, bro. It's his time.
It's kind of like the point, 1 minute, you're next. So super excited for that. I mean, gotta love me a little. Oh, there he is. Look at his face. He's very serious.
Oh my god, he's got a
Those
little
are
bit
big
of
eyes.
creepy eyes, but it gives him a little bit of that alien vibe,
Yeah.
which, I mean, it definitely suits him, right? We haven't really explored this direction quite of Hades as this kind of galactic overlord, but
True.
it's a cool vibe.
The eyes just give me the Alamal vibes, so I'm there for it. Absolutely. But no, super amazing skin. And I don't think. This is a cross-gen skin, which means we have a Smite 2 render for it, so we should check out the Smite 2 render.
Oh my gosh.
Dude.
Bro, okay. I've been saying this, but the lighting in Smite 2 is really next level. You can tell with some of these particle effects that we have in this render, where they just shine and reflect off of the materials and all of that good stuff. It just looks incredible.
I completely agree. And this has been one of my favorite. This is my favorite new addition to the update show. Is we're getting to show off now all of these renders as we're able to, and just so exciting. So next up, moving down the skin line, we have the Immortal Honor event. Now, if you saw the update show that happened live at World on Stage, that was cool. I love it. You heard me talk about the Immortal Honor event. The event runs all year. It's 2 skins per update. You could have already bought it all, which means you're just getting 2 skins per update for the rest of the year, or you can do it in chapters. You can do it individually. It's completely up to you. But the Immortal Honor event's getting 2 new skins. It's a new update. So to show those off, we're going to kick it off with Kiss Me XOXO Aphrodite. Very appropriately timed for this time of year, or for this exact day, I guess, too.
Yeah, true. Goddess of Love confirmed on Valentine's Day. What do you know?
True. And I like that you use the word confirmed there, because if a skin is cross-gen, that means that god is going to be in Smite 2. So is Aphrodite confirmed Smite 2? Would you look at that?
That's crazy.
Wow.
What a good time, like you said.
Yeah, we're spoilering stuff.
Bro, and this skin's so fun. I love these gamer
I was about to say, she's got the gamer.
They're so funny. The voice packs especially. I think Tina had a hand in this one, so I'm sure you guys are going to love it.
When Tina has a hand in a voice pack, you're in for something special. It's just kind of universally true. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of the gamer thing, all the digital vibes, the color schemes. Absolutely incredible. And here in just a sec, we should be able to see a Smite 2 render as well. Nice. Absolutely love it.
It looks so good. Like I said, the textures, the materials, they're kicked up to 10, you know what I mean? Even past 10. They could be going to 11 here.
Well, let's check this out in game in Smite 1. Let's be clear, we're not spoilering Smite 2 in game yet. You got to wait a little longer, but in Smite 1, let's check this out.
I still love how it looks in Smite 1 though. I mean, the basic
completely
attacks,
agree.
dude. Yeah.
The pulsating digital heart thing, absolutely great.
All the little particles coming off of the basics and the kiss there. Oh, that's so fun. It's a little dance floor.
It's a little boogie
Partying
time.
with your soulmate.
And just to continue to repeat this, owning this skin means that you will have it in SMITE 2 when SMITE 2 releases. It'll be part of the initial roster available to you as long as your accounts are linked. So you get it now. You're able to have it in SMITE 2. Everything you're seeing here already looks good, but as Lermy had mentioned earlier, you have that beautiful new lighting you get to look at in SMITE 2 as well. It's a lot to be excited about. So if you don't have the Immortal Honor event, you might want to think about picking it up, because it's 24 skins SMITE 1, 24 skins SMITE 2, and I don't know, I just couldn't be more excited about this. SMITE 2 is just, it's amazing. So let's keep moving before I talk myself into a circle here with a kind of a relevant to Valentine's next skin. We have Onyx Blade Susanoo.
Wait, we did not.
We did.
We did not.
We did.
Okay. All right. Well, e-couples know that you have a place in SMITE 2.
Yeah.
Because you've got your other half here.
Other half right here, confirmed SMITE 2. Now, you know, they have different jobs, obviously. One of them, the queen of the internet. One of them, slayer of dark skeletons and forces of evil, maybe? I don't know. The sword looks a little evil itself, but...
Yo.
That is so cool, dude.
Love the glimmer on this.
awesome.
Yeah, it like shimmers.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it has
especially
eyeballs.
The belts. Does he really need that many belts? Can we be honest here for a second?
There's a belt number to coolness ratio, and Susanoo is on top of it. So.
I guess so, man. You know, he knows more than me, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, same. I just, you know, I read once. He told me when we were talking earlier. He was like, the more belts, the better. So let's check out the SMITE 2 render for this skin.
Yes, please.
Dude, the way metal looks too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
like just the texture of the fabrics even
Yeah.
feels like so much more like realistic is like maybe not quite the word, but like it feels like they have such a big stark difference
Yeah.
between like that and the skin and the metal and the hair. Just everything feels really like more tangible, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So Susanoo confirmed SMITE 2, 2 amazing skins with the Immortal Honor event. And if you hit buy all, you're just going to get them. It'll be that way. I'll be saying that for the rest of the year. Every update we have, what, I don't know, 10 more updates. I'll just be like, you already have them. You hit buy all. If you haven't yet, that's fine. If you want one or the other, buy it individually. If you want all of them for like the first chapter of the year, which it might be quarter, there's a chapter system, buy that. It's completely up to you. So, but either way, they're all going into SMITE 2, and something else that I want to touch on is, you know, legacy gems, right? We've talked a lot about those, and y'all have heard us say a lot. For those who don't know, legacy gems are every gem you've ever spent in SMITE. We're talking all time. Like, you created your account, you spent gems. We count those too. Every single bit are going over into SMITE 2. You're getting them. They do a lot of things, and there's a whole blog about it, but 50% off a lot of gem purchases. And there are some exceptions, and we've talked about it. I'm sure y'all are sick of hearing this. But I wanted to remind y'all that we're still counting. We didn't announce this and then stop counting. We're still counting. If you bought the Immortal Honor event, or you rolled the chest that we just talked about with the Hades skin, those are going on at the legacy gem pile. We're still counting up the gems you spend to give back to you in SMITE 2. We didn't just, all right, well, we told them, stop the clock. Like, up until it launches, we're counting. So, you know, just know that, like with Immortal Honor event, right? You're getting 24 skins for SMITE 1, 24 skins in SMITE 2. And all of your gems returned to you as legacy gems in SMITE 2. So it's bananas, okay? I know that we've probably beaten this legacy gem thing into the ground, but I wanted to say it again because it's bananas that we're really trying to give you every gift we can to say thank you for all you've done for us, and we hope you enjoy SMITE 2. So anyway, I'll stop soapboxing now. We're gonna get into some balance, I think. I've talked enough. I gotta let the people over here who know what they're talking about do some talking. So first up, I mean, let's just start with Conquest. Let's start talking about some Conquest changes. Got a couple of camps changing around, starting with red buff.
Yeah, so 11.1 was a huge update. I mean,
It was huge.
It was
count
giant.
it. It was very, very big. A lot of stuff went into it. And one of the things that really made a big impact going into this update was the change to class passes, where they got removed.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things for mages specifically in relation to the red buff, because that's typically where they end up,
Yeah.
is that they had a much harder time clearing the red buff because they were missing a bunch of power. So what we've done specifically to help mages, not necessarily hunters in middle, because the change here is to decrease the protections of the big manticore
Okay.
in that camp down in terms of the magical ones from 16 to 10. So that's a pretty big base decrease
Yeah.
for specifically the magical characters. That's going to help them a lot in terms of clearing.
Cool. Awesome. Well, harpies, to continue the camp talk, are next. Mid harpies specifically.
Yeah, I mean, kind of same idea with mid-harpies in general. There was a lot of issue in terms of clearing those because, again, missing power. Even junglers missing a bit of pen, right? So they're having a little bit of tough time with that as well. So altogether, when it comes to the class passive change, those kind of two really fit together in terms of we need to make sure that people are able to do this and they're not spending too much time here, or they're dying to it, or feeling like they can't do much after doing those camps.
Yeah, the inadvertent camp buff just kind of being brought back down a little bit. So next up, a feature that I have always loved. I loved the first iteration. I love the second iteration. Stygian Beacon is getting a little bit of a touch up.
Yeah, I think the big thing here was we wanted to make sure that we kind of redesigned the reward there behind that.
And it feels good. It's a really, it's definitely you're like, I want to unleash these Titans. I love the buff. Let's fight over this. And now you don't have to worry about the Titans unleashing, but you're like, I want to siege these towers. We're going to fight over this. So I think you did really well.
Yeah, and I think it accomplished that goal, but it wasn't kind of carrying into the late game as strong as we wanted. Okay. And we wanted to kind of feel that impact a little bit more, like wanted to push the needle in the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we figured that kind of small buff would kind of like push it in that direction.
Got it. Super cool. So next up, something else that's kind of new to the Conquest world. You have the Fire Giant Effigy, and it's getting a little bit of love, huh?
Yeah, so this is a little rock that you may see next to the Fire Giant when it gets started. He's just a little guy, and once he gets taken down, the Fire Giants start to take a lot more damage, right? But what we've been seeing in the matches that we've looked at is that it's just not dying very much. It's not dying very quickly. People aren't necessarily interacting with it, in the way that we were expecting them to. So we want to kind of give players a little bit more incentive to go and take a look and start hitting it a bit more. So we're making it, bringing down that health just a hair, just 150. But even with the mitigations and stuff built on top of it, it can be a little bit difficult to get through that chunk of health, especially if you're, the Guardian or the Warrior that's hitting it.
Yeah.
If you are the sole responsible person for it, we want to make sure that any kind of class, any kind of build can get through it.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. And last but not least, kind of next to the effigy and across the map, we have in general a change to some of the map bosses or the way you interact with them. So what's going on with that?
So specifically, there was a lot of reports of players not being able to lifesteal from jungle bosses, and this kind of came to be because of the lifesteal changes that we made in the previous patch, where we took down the percentage that you could heal from minions by 50%. And on top of that, map bosses debuff you to heal 50% less as well. So you end up getting to a net of 0, which means that you're healing nothing. So actually, your lifesteal was working. It just was getting debuffed to 0. So what we've done is we've actually changed that debuff that gets applied to you when you're trying to lifesteal to be 25% instead of 50. So in total now, if you are trying to lifesteal off of a jungle boss, it will be for 25% and not 0%. That was not intentional. We have fixed that for this patch.
So yeah, you get a little bit of that lifesteal back. Super cool. So now we're out of Conquest, we're moving into the world of Duel. So for those people who are Duel fans and have kept up, we've been rotating some gods that have been banned and kind of changing it up. So we have the new list. But first, let's start off with the old. So freshly unbanned, we have a variety of gods, and you'll see them here on screen. These are freshly unbanned, starting with update 11.2.
Yeah, so as you'll notice here, there's some top tiers making their way back.
Top tiers.
We've got some Anhurs, Anubis, Huyi, Baka, Uller, I'm sure is going to be a very exciting one for a lot of content creators. But yeah, so we're starting to experiment with putting a lot of the top tiers, or mingling, you might say, top tiers back into the list. Because you can see here, there's also some that are not top tiers, or that you wouldn't expect them to be necessarily, but that were pretty popular in 10.13, so they got banned in 11.1, and now we're like, all right, it's 11.2, it's time for them to come back.
Yeah, you can have them back.
So we'll see. We're going to keep a really close eye on how these top tiers perform now that they're unbanned.
Yeah.
And see, if we can cycle in some more top tiers, pull some out. It's going to be a lot of experimentation, but we have a really cool couple of patches planned ahead as well. So keep your eyes out for the next rotations as well. But I'm sure this one's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that has been the motto for SMITE 1 for as long as I've done update shows, is we have a really cool stuff now and later. So keep your eyes on it. So next up, obviously, if we're unbanning some gods, it's got to be some new banned gods as well. So let's look at that. These are the newly banned gods.
So these are a lot of the top performers in 11.1. We kind of are still keeping that mindset of if they're doing really well in the patch, we're going to take them out for the next one. That may, continue to shift as we get more data from here and there and in various matches. And so we've had some new people show up and some old people from the original list show up as well.
Yeah.
But in general, we are going to shift these guys in and see how the top tiers that have now been shifted in are going to look.
Cool. And just as one more touch, we have the still banned gods, so things that weren't unbanned or not newly banned. These are here. These are the same, where they're still by.
Yeah, so a lot of these characters are going to be like your super SS plus, like your Collies, your AMCs, Kronos is maybe up there, Poseidon. Those characters are still banned because we know that playing against them can be a little bit frustrating. So we're trying to, again, limit the number of top tiers that you'll see in your games, but only certainly. We tried to kind of pick the ones that were a little bit less annoying. People wanted to play them more. But of course, we want to make sure that, if you're a Collie main and you duel, you're not going to not be able to play the god that you want to play.
Exactly.
Forever. She'll come back eventually. We're just figuring out exactly when we want to put her back in.
Well, seeing all of these, I completely agree, except for AMC, because that means no Amus and corn, and that makes me sad.
No corn.
I mean, you're right. Super annoying, but I just like the corn. So ever since that skin came out, I was like, all right. AMC has a lot of good skins, but Amus and corn is one of my favorites. So next up, we have one more game mode to talk about, and this is actually a little bit of an experiment. We're talking Slash. But we're not talking the Slash that everybody knows. We're talking Slash, but it's a 4v4. So this is an experiment that we're actually going to get into sometime in 11.2. The exact date we're still ironing out because it's an experiment. So we'll let y'all know. But what we're doing here is we're going to, for a while, have Slash available as a 4v4 game mode for testing purposes. We want to see how the community likes it. We want to see if it feels like a healthier version of the Slash experience, if it just helps the game feel better overall. So again, bit of an experiment that we will be relying on our data, because we like our numbers, and y'all's feedback to help us decide if this is, if this was worth it, if it was a good idea. So again, y'all get more information in the future. Make sure to keep your eyes on our social pages and everything. And once it comes out, make sure to let us know with all of your very candid feedback. Please be candid, you always are. How you felt about it, because again, we're running an experiment. We like to do things that we think people will enjoy, and y'all are the people. So if you don't enjoy it, let us know. If you do enjoy it, please let us know. And cool, past that, we're into the world of items now. You ready to talk some items?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
So we're kicking off with nerfs, and we're kicking off with some starter items.
Yes, the first starter item that we're going to talk about is Warrior's Axe, and kind of the theme with the two starter items that you're going to see here is that we had intentionally given them a bit of a buff that was a little larger than it may have needed to make sure that the meta was changing before Worlds in a way that was going to be pleasant for all of our viewers and our players.
Was enjoyable.
For lack of a better way to phrase that. So Warrior's Axe specifically is getting a small decrease in physical power, 20 to 15. It's going to definitely impact the early game for a lot of those characters that do like to use and abuse it.
Okay.
But it also opens up a little bit for your blue stones, your tainted steels, lots of other options there.
Yeah.
And so the second one kind of on this list is Timeline. It's getting a small power reduction buff. And you'll see a little bit why later, but we are only nerfing it a little bit because we have a competitor, spoiler alert, coming up that we may be buffing.
Cool. Well, for me to chime in and say the thing that I always say, update notes are live right now if you want to follow along, see all the numbers we're talking about, or check it out later. They will be live, so make sure you check those out during, before, or after the show. So let's move on. We have a very horrific emblem and a whole tree of it even to talk about.
Yeah, so this was far and away the relic that I heard the most about throughout our playtesting phase, as well as just being live. I mean, I'm sure you experienced it quite a lot in support. It happened many a times that I would buy Horrific and just run it down, So having a lot of that power as a support does feel really, really nice.
Yeah.
But it definitely does a lot of things. We acknowledge that. But we want to make sure that the anti-healing aspect is still strong, the anti-shielding, that counter still exists.
Yeah.
So we're taking down a little bit of the slow, and we're also increasing the cooldown, so the availability of it is just going to be a little bit less frequent than all of the others, and that applies to every single rank of Horrific.
Got it. You got to make sure that you're choosing when to use it a little more carefully now. All right, so next up, we're talking one of our new wards, it looks like. So that's exciting. What's going on with the new proximity ward?
So this one in general was mostly, it was very cool to see a lot of new plays around the proximity ward.
They are very cool.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was very excited to see people use this, but there was one use case that we were like, ooh, I don't know how to feel about that. And that was in lane, buying it in lane to start with, to kind of act as a combat kind of trick, more or less, to drop it on people that can't really run away. Maybe they don't even have their movement abilities by the time you get to lane. And they just gotta get slowed.
Yeah. And I think that's a use case we definitely wanted to see with proximity ward. I think we just didn't want to see it as early as it was happening, and so that's why we're kind of shifting it so that it's like locked behind that level 5.
Yeah, and it really is just the laning phase that we thought was like the problematic part. So level 5 is like the lowest unlock we have in the game in terms of when you're able to buy things.
Yeah.
So it's really just laning phase is a no-go. Anytime after that though, by all means,
go
just
wild.
drop it on your enemies and slow them down.
Yeah, that's a super cool use case too, because somebody like me, I played with it a little bit. I was like, oh dude, I'll put it on the far side of Fire Giant. They come to contest, they're slow, we turn on them, beautiful. My brain had never even clicked into for the longest time, like, throw it at them while I'm running them down. They'll never escape. Like, super. That's why I love giving things into the world and watching people make plays with them, because I'm over here getting my mind blown constantly. So moving forward, Demon Blade, Devoted Deathbringer. What is the line between them? What are the changes?
Crit. Crit's good.
Crit is good. Crit is good.
One of the main things we wanted to address here with crit in particular is there is a very common discussion that happens whenever crit becomes relevant, where crit just has too many stats. It does a lot of different things. It's too multifaceted, and that's an argument that we totally understand, and we see that purpose coming around, especially when we see the builds and things and the theoreticals all come into line. We're like, yeah, you guys right about that one.
Yeah, you were right.
So for Demon Blade, this is a very interesting one, because Demon Blade's passive gives you penetration and attack speed. Well, no longer does it give you attack speed. It still has the attack speed on the base stats of the item.
Okay.
You just don't gain it when you crit.
Got it.
So that extra aspect of gaining another set of stats is no longer going to happen. It's just going to be on the base of the item, and that's it. As for Devoted Deathbringer, though, I mean, this is a very contentious item, I know. This is kind of like the enabler when it comes to the crit build. So we are just going to decrease this multiplier one more time. We kind of stealth nerfed it coming out of PTS, which, we didn't have a whole lot of communication on, which we apologize for, and that could have led to a lot of that, misunderstanding of, oh, this is way more OP than it actually is.
Yeah.
But we still have seen a lot of that stress around crit is really strong, so we want to take it down one more time to make sure that we are really, nailing exactly what you guys want here.
Yeah, I think one of the core things about the item is we wanted to make sure that people who wanted to just go maximize and crit had a good payoff for doing that. But we felt like maybe in its current state, it was a little bit too strongly tuned in that direction. Yeah. So this is just a way to kind of bring it back more in line with the rest of the item builds.
Got it. But I mean, man, what a messed up day. Nerfing something with the word devoted on the day of love. Obviously we weren't devoted to keeping that. It's whatever, But anyway, we're moving on to buffs now in the item trees, starting with also kind of relevant to Valentine's Day, I guess, the gems. So Conduit and Archmage's gem, both kind of on this buff tree.
So this is what I was referring to earlier when I said that a competitor was getting buffed. Conduit is now getting buffed. It's getting a kind of an interesting shift, actually, which I would consider a buff, to where the stack time, because when you get Conduit gem, you have to stack up, and it takes time to get those stats, right? And so a lot of times, I'm saying time too many times, but essentially you have to wait a long time to get the full payoff of it, to get the full lane clear, etc. Yeah. We're going to be decreasing that time by half, but we're also slightly decreasing the true damage per stack that you're getting. This is not counting the minions. This is just on players by 1. So yes, you're getting it faster. You're going to be doing slightly less damage, but it's still going to be way, way more damage than you ever would have been doing before at 10 seconds. So overall, it's a buff. Just kind of keeping it in line with this very slight adjustment to the damage.
Yeah, I think this item has taken a bit of a backseat to Sands for a bit, and it's cool to see it a lot more consistent and more reliable to get it off, and I think it reduces the friction, which is going to make it a lot easier to build in a bunch of different circumstances.
Yeah, make it make more sense.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of same idea there for Archmages as well. There's no damage shift on this one, because really this one has not been very popular for a long time, if ever. So we really want to see if this is going to help shift up the focus skin between this and Gem of Focus. Haha. That's so
all funny. The gem jokes. I mean, you heard it here. Between those two buffs, take your that special lane partner you have, or that special team member you're queuing with, over to the jungle shop and buy him one of those gems for Valentine's Day. So,
if only. Well, you're giving me ideas now. Stop.
There you go. So next up, completely unrelated to gems and love, Death's Temper.
Yeah, so this is a hunter basic attack item that you really haven't seen very much of. And you could even say it's possible to build it in solo. We have been seeing some Death's Embrace over in solo, which is
a little crazy.
Still very fun. Lots of healing to go with that. But Death's Temper is just kind of taking a back seat, again, to just the better upgrade, it seems, in a lot of ways. Yeah. So what we're doing here is 10 minions. Was a lot of minions to have to kill, especially because most waves have 6, right? So that's more than a single wave that you have to be taking care of. And this is when you're level 20. How often are you really being in the waves at level 20 unless you're sieging? It's not very often,
That's true.
So what we've done is we've just kind of shifted Death's Temper to have half the stacks, but double the stats. So you're still getting to the point where you need to get. It's the same number value across the board. You're just getting there in half the time. So 5 minions instead of 10. Same damage, and then we also gave it an extra 75 health because we were looking at that 75 health at a tier 3, kind of crazy a little bit. So
kind of nutty a little bit.
Just a little bit more help in the stats department as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Similar to Conduit, right? It's like, how do we make this item more reliable?
Yeah,
I think this definitely makes this item more reliable. Especially there are times where I've always wanted to build Death's Temper because I love going attack speed items, and maybe didn't want to go into the lifesteal one. But that kind of minion restriction always kind of held it back from hitting that full potential. And I feel like this, again, makes it a lot easier to get there.
Yeah, of course.
And more reliable in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree too. Like, it's awesome when you get to the point of these items work at a technical level, but now we need to think about, like you said, that friction. Like, why? What is it that makes this feel more attainable or makes this a competitive option? So it's cool to see that the stats are changing, but we're also looking at what helps gives this item edge against its better competitors. It's just cool to see those changes. So awesome. To continue, staying on brand with this Day of Love, Rejuvenating Heart.
Oh my gosh, we just really
Y'all
made this.
planned this. The script for this one's crazy.
All right, if you see those numbers, you're gonna think it's crazy, and believe me, I also thought it was crazy. 33% shared healing to 75%. This is a magical item. So you're getting on a magical characters who a lot of the time are already getting hit by a 33% AoE coefficient decrease to their lifesteal. So getting 33% of 33% was not ideal by a lot of regards.
Yeah.
So even if you are sharing that to your teammates, which is always really nice, good to share.
It's good to share.
It wasn't very much, and you're also getting that additional healing proc yourself. So the first thing we were like, okay, well, this is not very much healing at all. And number two, people have never really thought to pick up this item, even when in its old passive, so we really need to give it a big push.
We need to give it some love.
If we want people to give it a try, right?
Yeah.
So we understand this number will look scary, but maybe lifesteal will be good. Lifesteal's good at last?
Yeah?
Perhaps?
Question mark? Well, the only two things that I can take away from this are, one, how effortlessly you use the word coefficient there. Like, you just slid that right into a sentence, and it hit me like
Have
a
a college degree?
flashbang.
That's right.
I was like, okay, that's a word people use. That's a big word. Secondly, we all have big hearts around here. So, 75% or 40-something% bigger. I can do math. 42% bigger. We're just out here showing the love. So I'm excited for that, especially as somebody who likes sharing the healing. So Vibr Shard is next on the docket, and it's getting a little buff action.
Yeah, so the new passive shards certainly made quite a big mark on the
They made a
battleground.
splash.
They did. Vibr Shard, though, was perhaps the least of them all, and that was a little bit disappointing to us, because we understand that Party Punch was definitely a jungler special, right?
Yeah.
But also Golden Shard was super, super good. So we were like, okay, well, Golden Shard's kind of new. We want to keep seeing like what it can do through another patch. But
Yeah, of
Vibr
course.
Shard, we kind of want to increase the rate that people are going to try it. And especially towards that later stage of the game, which is why we touch the scaling specifically. But it's kind of a tough spot to land on, right? Because if it's too good, people aren't going to trade it out. And then if it's not good enough, they're just never going to buy it.
Yeah. Quite the thin line you have to walk there.
Yeah, it's tough.
So next up, the thing that every time I see it on the notes, I have to think, how do I say this? Canon Ears, it's Curus? Is it Curus?
I want to say Curus.
You want to say? That's a lot of confidence you just gave me. All right. Canon Ears chest plate. What's up?
So this item has been so close to being support viable for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right now, the
Cool
decision between going Cloak or going into Thebes is still pretty cool. I think a lot of players are really enjoying having that option to go either one of those or both. They're very fun items, right? But Canon Ears is kind of this undiscovered third option. And really what's happening is that it just is not as stat efficient as the other two. You start to earn a lot of prots in Thebes and on the Cloak that you just aren't getting the same through Canon Ears. So you want to just kind of inch it a little bit closer.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we've
And then
noticed
it'll
these
start
like
to break through.
small little stat nudges a lot of the time can really like push the item back into viability. So that's what we're trying here.
And it's crazy how true that is too. How sometimes you're like, we have to take this item and redefine its existence, and then it's good. And sometimes you're like, we'll give this 1% attack speed and 10 health, and it's like the meta item all of a sudden.
Eventually, someone's going to try it. Call up genetics, call it PBM. Someone's going to do it, and it's going to catch on. And then it's going to be super OP.
Yeah, it'll be like 11.5. It'll be we nerf it into the earth because people were like, wait a minute, this item is cracked.
It's very exciting because it does have that extra gold spooling, and it's got extra clear potential too. So, some low clear supports can do it. We've even seen a little bit of experimentation in other lanes, which, you're losing that gold aspect, but maybe the clear is what's valuable to them.
Yeah.
But either way, it's getting there. It's close.
It's getting there.
I can feel it. It's close.
Where the adjustments are close. So next up, the hammer, the Blackthorn Hammer.
I'm excited for this one.
Yes.
Oh, excited? All right, well, get into it.
Well, so I mean, I'm a huge fan of the hybrid items.
Yeah.
So I'm like really happy to see this one kind of coming back into the fray. You might have more thoughts on like kind of where we like how we found these numbers. But generally speaking, I think we wanted people to be able to afford it a little bit easier and kind of nudging up that health again, same in line with how just nudging stats a little bit can kind of bring an item into viability. I think combining that with the gold reduction really helps find it into that better slot.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't excited about more for less, regardless of what it is? But item store is no different. You're like, I need these stats, and I can get them for a little bit less. Let's go. I'm buying a hammer.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it was a lot of of comparisons to the other hammers, right?
Yeah.
Because when Blackthorn was last in the game, the environment it was in was very different. I mean, Runeforge was not the same. Frostbound was not the same. There's a lot of comparisons in that Dawnbringer didn't exist. So there's quite a few differences that this hammer has fallen into. So one thing we wanted to do is, okay, what does this passive do compared to the other ones? Is that equal gold value? No, not quite. Not the same. So we wanted to make sure that it was, at an adequate gold cost. And then we also did a shift to its stats previously because it had power and health.
Yeah.
And we wanted to put a little bit more power into it and take away some of that health. But we have seen that taking away a bit of that health has kind of made it a little bit less viable in that regard because you just don't get the defenses that you really need. So we wanted to give it just a smidge more health and take down that price to a place that we thought that it was good for.
Awesome. Well, we've made it to the final item of the item section of Balance, and that's Titan's Bane.
Yeah, so this one might be surprising to some folks, and that's totally understandable.
Surprise me.
The reason that this is showing up is because in our data, we have seen that a lot of the late game damage of ability-based characters, specifically assassins, a lot of the time has fallen off, mostly against tanks. Tanks are getting dealt a lot of the damage from carries and from mages.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less of the assassins doing it. So we want to make sure that the late game payoff for these assassins, especially the ones that are, either full commit and need to just get as much damage in one go, or even poke assassins, either way, both of them were kind of suffering in that ultra late game, and this is kind of the premier 6th item slot.
Okay, got it. Well, that makes sense. Especially, I have limited experience in the assassin world, but you want to be able to, you're like, all right, I'm about to play Gray Screen Simulator, but I want to do something before I get there with this dive. So having something to more reliably do that sounds good. So now we're into the God section. We got some God changes to talk about, and we're going to start off in the world of nerfs, starting with Athena, one of the scariest global presence havers of all the gods, I'd say. So what's being nerfed about Athena?
Yeah, speaking of global presence, that's what we're nerfing.
Aha! There it is.
Not the cooldown or frequency of it per se, but the effectiveness of it. So she is going to remain at 20% F max rank, but her early game strength is going down. So we're going to be starting her at 10% damage mitigation and 10% movement speed. That also counts for herself.
Yeah.
And then ranking it up as she goes forward into the game. So this should really help those early game rotations of her going across the map feel a little bit less scary. And even in the other game modes where she kind of just has like this free back to base and get in there button. Yeah. Not quite as terrifying for those who face her.
You can deal with it a little more. Late game, you still have to know what you're doing, but early game, you have a little more leniency.
We've also noticed with a lot of characters when you have like a base stat that's present at all ranks, sometimes just kind of smoothing it out over the ranks makes it a little bit easier to balance relative to some of the other things in the game.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a progression to scale to work with. So instead of like it's all or nothing with this, like you said, it's a little smoother of a curve. Forward, and all right, well, cool. So next up, Maman Brigitte. I feel like Maman has been a very loud addition to the battleground. Like,
in more ways than one.
Came, hit hard, and has continued to be a presence. So, what nerfs are on the docket for her?
So, Maman Brigitte has continued to not necessarily have the performance of a character that we'd be, typically nerfing.
Yeah.
But she's definitely had the presence in community feedback, which is something that we want to really focus on. Is that the frustration factor is definitely something that we are keeping in mind.
That's true.
So one of the things that we have seen in terms of the frustration has been party trick, how it feels like it's up basically all the time if she's able to get that stun going.
Yeah.
So we are increasing the base cooldown only. So this is only if you completely empty out your rum and you drink it all, you stun, it will be on an 8-second cooldown versus a 6-second cooldown that it was before. And then Spirit Seize is another one of those abilities that's like she's jumping in. Get it off.
Yeah, what can I do?
So we're just taking that damage down a little bit more to make sure that when she hops in, it's more of she needs to do more than just do that to finish someone off.
Yeah.
She's got to continue to combo alongside it to make it really worthwhile.
On the receiving end, it should feel a little bit more fair.
Yeah, a little easier to play around instead of being like, oh, that's in me, I'm dead now. So, cool. So next up, the Loudbird. Thoth getting a little bit of a nerf, which I'm fine with because Thoth is one of those people that I've never been good at playing and I've always been good at dying to. So, well, what's going on with the nerfs?
He's kind of like the classic artillery mage, right? Where he is able to sit pretty far away. He's kind of safe. He doesn't have any CC immunity,
but
cool
wall.
He's got a lot of damage, right? So his
damage.
CC immunity is just making sure that you are dead, and then he doesn't have to worry about it, right? So instead of that, what we are doing is we are kind of trying to take down Thoth for those higher level players that are hitting a lot of their shots.
Okay.
So this is going to be a pretty significant nerf to Hieroglyphic Assault, where he would get extra damage on subsequent hits, where for a lot of characters it's decreasing.
Yeah,
for
it's the
him
opposite.
it was the opposite, right? So he's getting that taken down just a bit, because we know that is something that contributes to a lot of his gameplay, whether that's his clear, his poke. It's going to affect a lot of different facets. And then the other thing we're doing is taking Final Judgment down. Those people that are accurate with it, I mean, that hurts real bad when you get hit with that straight in the noggin. Yeah, not a good feeling. So you still have a lot of scaling. I mean, 120% is quite a lot.
That is, I mean, it is a lot.
Their characters were, like, at that average level, right? They're pretty fair, but then, you know, with that variance, they can kind of like push that ceiling a little bit too far. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is like reel that back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make it a little more. That makes perfect sense to me. So moving down the line, we're still kind of in the animal world, but we're on the newer side of gods with Bake Kujira. So made a splash on the battleground, I'd say, and
you could say that.
I did say it too, but so needs a little bit of touch up though. What are the nerfs coming in?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes here, and so some of this is going to be a little bit confusing. I understand, so we're going to take it nice and easy here. First up, Rough Waters. This is one. So we are shifting these stacks. So essentially what would happen is when you activate this ability, if you hit enemies, you get protections.
Got it.
And there were a lot of stacks of this, right? So a 6, which is 1 minion wave up to 10, instead of just bringing it down to 6, which would take the prods down by quite a lot, we're taking it to 8 at all ranks. So he still has to hit more minions to actually get the full protections at level 1, which is going to impact his rank 1 of that pretty frequently, which laning phase is where you have rank 1. So that's kind of a 1-pointer for that. The next thing that we're doing is decreasing the protections by 1 at all ranks as well. So at rank 1, you're getting 8 of each. So again, not too scary compared to what it would have been before, which is 12. So that's going down by 4 in that early game again, which is going to be really helpful for that super oppressive laning phase that we've been seeing.
Yeah.
But that's for the 1. Moving on, let's talk about Sonic Wave. This is 2.
Next ability. You're right, that was confusing. Follow the patch notes. If you're like me and you're like, I grasp half of that, my brain is spaghetti, patch notes has it all written out.
It'll help.
You're explaining well. I just have the mind of a goldfish.
Yes.
And you're talking about a whale, so Sonic Wave.
It works together, but yeah, Sonic Wave is his second ability.
All right.
This is the cone that does damage. It's just going to do a little bit less damage in all ranks, but again, early game, 10 less damage. It's on a relatively low cooldown. It's going to help out pretty frequently.
I got that one. All right, let's keep going.
Finally, the ultimate. We're shifting the damage increase debuff. So this is when you're sitting close to him.
Yeah,
So you're not in the tie-dye. Yep,
Yeah.
you're right in the center. So the damage is getting increased by 1% in the early game. And this is more so to make sure that, you know, when you are able to go to the late game, that it can get taken down. So instead of 5 to 15%, which is 15% increased damage, is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It can be 10% in the late game. So instead of 5 to 15, it's 6 to 10. So late game, not going to be as impactful. Early game, just
a little more.
Just much more. But there's the reason for that is so that we can fully compensate for bringing the high-end lure.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So that is why I respect y'all so much. Y'all are over here like talking all these numbers, and you're like this in the early game to the late game to and I'm over here like, designers are impressive. Y'all are crazy. So or y'all just great work y'all are doing. Look at that on the patch notes. The whale is less scary now. All right, we're gonna keep moving. My brain is just like there's smoke coming out of my ears. So our boy Cuckoo is up next on the docket. The slippery snake and slipstream itself getting a little twist, a little adjust.
Yeah, so we did a change to this one relatively recently where he gets full slow immunity in this ability. And then we realized, oh wait, when this ability is fully slow immune, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
It's very strong. So even though he gets decreased movement speed over time, that initial burst of movement speed is what people usually feel the most. And 80% at max rank, it's a lot.
That boy's zooming.
A lot of movement speed. He's zooming. So we are taking down all ranks by 10%, which is going to help out a lot. But we're also increasing the cooldown towards that max level as well. So it's still going to stay at 15 at rank 1.
Got it.
But instead of going 15 to 11, it's going 15 to 13.
Cool. That makes sense. Nice. Straightforward. So next up is Hachi. What is Hachi's getting Heavenly Banner and Mounted Archery, both slight adjustments, looks like.
Yeah, so he's just a very safe character, right?
He is.
He's your jack of all trades, just kind of does everything pretty well. So in general, we want to make sure that it's clear, just goes down by a hair. I know 1 second seems like it's not that much, but believe me,
it makes
the amount of time that you use this ability during the game that you're just going to have it 1 second less, and you're going to go, man, I wish I had it this point.
I wish I had it 1 second earlier.
Well, that's why he was doing pretty well, is he was having this up. And Mounted Archery, again, is that really big piece of safety that makes him so good at not being gankable, which is really the thing that is very important as a hunter.
Yeah.
Is if you avoid ganks as a hunter and you just play to live and you farm up, you're doing your job,
Yeah,
right?
you're doing
so
fine.
He's getting that ability to run away very frequently. So we're taking that back just a hair to make sure he still has it, just not as much. A little bit more opportunity for junglers.
A little more vulnerable.
Yeah, nothing like coming to lane and trying to gank, and he's like, "That's cool, it's a nice gank, but I have a horse, and it's thrown over." And you know, as
We
we
have a horse.
yeah,
I mean,
as we continue to go through this too, I just to highlight what you said earlier, Chaos. It's the 1 second adjustments. It's the 1% adjustments that you're like, oh, they changed it 1%. That's or 1 second. That's not. But it's crazy how much of a difference that makes, and it's always fun to highlight how specific these changes can be sometimes, because it's just cool. So staying in the Hunter subcategory here, we have On Her coming up next.
yeah, On Her's like a close second to Hachiman.
Yeah.
Very safe.
Push,
Especially
got the
with
jump.
the recent buff to Shifting Sands. So we are just going to revert one of those buffs, which
Yeah.
was to increase the slow from, it was 15 to 35, and now it's returning back to 15 to 35
Okay.
from where it was before. It just, it was very, very potent at zoning, especially in the lane. You typically level the second, so
Yeah.
having that extra, even 5% in the early game, especially combined with like the horrifics that are really strong and the proximity wards, it was just a lot of slow, right? There's a lot of area control and CC in a way that you wouldn't really expect it to be powerful, but it definitely was very powerful.
In that vein of making characters again feel more fair, I think this is an adjustment that gets them, more into that position where you feel a little bit more fair boxing against On Her.
Yeah, instead of being like enemy on her, I'm not trading during this laning phase. I just have to. I'm gonna sit by tower. So all right, cool. So Charon is up next with Damnation getting a little touch up.
Yeah, Charon has been quite the enigma lately. We've been seeing him in places I was not expecting to see him. A lot of mid.
A lot of mid.
Which is very interesting. Go off, I guess.
Yeah, when you have a boat, where can't you go, I guess?
But he's still getting a lot of that shielding off, and that typically tends to be the frustration factor for a lot of players. Is he's getting a sneaky amount of shielding. So what we're doing is we're decreasing the amount of shield that he's getting based on his health. So typically he's built like the tiniest bit tanky if he's going mid.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times he's being built in support or even solo if people are kind of feeling it, So taking that health fragment down is going to do way, way, way more than any amount of base shielding would do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. And last but not least, in the God Nerfs area is Vamna and Big Baby's getting a little touch.
We just buffed him.
Yeah.
It's very tough, right? Because he went from being unplayable, worst god in the game, to suddenly being, oh my god, he's so good again.
Yeah.
Every single match, have
Stop
to
this
ban
man.
him.
Yeah.
His ban rate between 10-13 and 11-1 is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like literally the chart is like a straight diagonal line.
It's a stonks meme, dude. It's just there it goes.
It's funny. You can see how much those small nudges matter, right? Because just like doing something like that just instantly like boosts.
Yeah, it went from like garbage bottom tier whatever to like lock this or ban this or you're dumb.
So here's the thing. We could have just reverted him, right? We probably would have had him back to the spot where he was before.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that this ult was still feeling like the duration was really still fun, right? Because that's the core, is you get to go big baby mode and stop around
that
for a
ult
little
is
bit.
fun. It's always been fun.
And we wanted to make sure you still had that time to do those things. The problem is that it just gives you a lot of free stats when you ult. So what we're doing is we're taking the power down by a very, very big chunk in the late game, because that tends to be when it gets online. I mean, 75 free power, especially after the power nerfs that we did come mid-season last year. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, that's a big amount of power. It's a big guy.
And also, we just adjusted his lifesteal on top of that up to 37.5%. But now that's going back down to 30 because it is a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah.
Especially on gods, which is how you get more movement speed. So if you're hitting gods, you're lifestealing, you're going faster, you have a lot of power. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's
this
perfect storm. So
exactly.
Well, cool. Glad to know that I can be stepped on a few more times before having to skulk back to base. Well, that does it for the God nerfs. Now, of course, we have the God buffs. We have who's on the docket to get a little stronger. Kicking it off with the Hades, our dude from the underworld.
Yeah, so you would have thought, oh, lifesteal just got a big change to it. Hades is going to be good.
Yeah, he's on top.
No, I don't know how this happened, but he was not doing very well.
He showed up late for the lifesteal meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as it turns out, lifestealing against gods, when someone stands still and ults, tends to be pretty easy to hit those things.
Yeah,
so
fair.
Hades just needs a little bit of extra help in doing damage back. So he's getting a 10% protection debuff on top of the protection debuff he already has, and this applies if they are blighted already. So if you blight someone, then you ult someone, they get debuffed. So this is just adding on top of the flat reduction, now there's a % reduction.
Got it.
I think this just increases his utility, right? Because in any role that you're doing, and if you're doing it support, you're doing it solo, you're doing it mid, wherever you want to play him.
Yeah.
It's always relevant to have that sort of 10% reduction. So I think that also increases his viability in different roles, and that's kind of what we're aiming for.
Yeah, help try to give them the chance to diversify while still feeling useful in each of those different areas. I'm all about it. I love seeing people tech things into places where you're like, wouldn't have guessed that you could do that there, but I'm losing, so good job. So next up, Hebo, the splashy boy.
Yeah, so this is another kind of symptom of a couple of different things that we changed in the last patch, which was, number 1, Bountiful Bow is gone, which means he's getting a little bit less cooldown. Number 2, class passes are gone, so he's missing a lot of that power in the early game.
Yeah.
So this was really focused around his early game and his farm potential, not really his fighting potential. So what you see here is that we did 2 buffs to Water Cannon, which is his main clearing ability. The damage to minions is increased by 5%, which, is still pretty significant considering that's pretty high damaging ability.
That is, yeah.
And then on top of it, he's just getting a slight mana cost reduction as it goes up as well. So because you're probably leveling this first, I would imagine, you're going to be using that cooldown a lot because it's a 4-second cooldown.
Yeah.
It comes up very frequently. And so spending 80 mana every single time you're using it was just draining the mana real fast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that down, just make it a little bit easier for him to clear and to feel like he had that chance to actually get to his items and not worry so much about the mana.
That makes sense. I mean, hey, like you said, with all of the crazy changes that came with 11.1, like a new year's worth of update, not surprising that the water guy suffered from the ripples. So next up, we have Hu Yi.
So this is a very interesting character to talk about because you would think he'd be very strong in a crit meta because his passive is you can't crit me.
Yeah.
But he just isn't able to keep up in terms of his clear. And it's actually very, very interesting to buff Ricochet because it has a lot of implications. If you buff the base damage, you start to get into the double and the triple bounces that people start to memorize. And those really, really skilled 2E players can take advantage of that a lot more than people that are just single bouncing all the time.
Yeah.
So we want to be very careful bringing this up. So we are taking it 5 base damage, and that may not look like a lot, but the amount of times that you're using it on top of the fact that you can double, triple bounce, it adds up
it's multiplicative,
over time.
and then, well, cool, that makes sense. Yeah, for you double, triple bouncers out there, like, you'll feel it. So Jing Qian up next.
This is a huge buff. I'm
our
not gonna lie
spinny
to you.
stompy man.
This one might be the most or second most. It's hard to say because there's still some exciting stuff coming up after this. But Xing Chen is getting very big buffs here. First up, poor Xing Chen, not been seen for a while. We've given him a lot of buffs, especially around the DR changes coming to the patch a couple patches ago. So first up, Furious Roar. This is essentially kind of your anti-basic attacker tool that you see him use a lot in support to kind of stop the enemy ADC from clearing. We're actually shifting how soon you get this damage reduction in the early game. So you're starting at 30%, which is actually very, very impactful.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it does still go up to 50%, which, if you're canceling out 50% of an auto attacker's damage in the late game, quite a lot.
Yeah.
So starting it even closer to that number in the early game from level 1 is going to feel really, really nice.
That is cool.
But that's not even the craziest thing here because Hook Slam is getting a decrease in cooldown from 14 at all ranks to 14 down to 12, which is going to feel really nice.
Yeah, that's 2 whole seconds off at the end of the game there for one of the bread and butter. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I'm excited about that. So Cerberus up next, the goodest boy.
This one's cool.
Yeah, this is another one that kind of surprised me that he wasn't doing too hot because, again, with healing and lifesteal changes, you would think that Cerb would be doing well just due to his passive and his ability to keep up with all of that, but not the case here. But this is actually a very cool new effect that Cerberus is going to be getting on Soul Expulsion, which is his leap. So when he leaps onto enemies, they spawn little souls, right? When you spawn onto a god, they spawn god souls. So now, when you kill a god soul specifically, you get a 2-second cooldown reduction on your leap. So if you leap on a lot of people and you munch down their souls, have your teammates munch the souls, whatever it might be, and they die, you get a 2-second cooldown off of your 3, no matter how many souls that there are. So if you jump on 5 people, you can get 10 seconds off. It's crazy.
Woof, even. Dang, that's
cool. It's a small
cool.
jump, but maybe it'll happen.
No, it'll happen. If I see like somebody tweet a clip of that, I'm going ham, dude.
Okay,
like,
but in a game.
Yeah, in a game. It doesn't. Yeah, you can't get your friends to 5-stack in a custom. Like naturally in the world, you're playing your ranked ranked queue, and that's how you win the game. Is you just leap like 2 times back to back because you got that cooldown. Bro, I'm hyping you up. I'm your hype man for that day. So, all right, well that's cool. And Zhang Kui is up next.
Yeah, do we have people that love Zhang Kui in this room?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I see some folks.
Zhang is another character that kind of, can turn into that lifesteal route if he wants to.
Yeah.
But essentially, we're just giving him a little bit of extra, quality of life style changes here with attack speed in his base going up a bit, which is going to feel really nice with the extra auto alongside your Demon Bag, your little scroll buddy.
Yeah.
It's also going to be auto attacking faster.
Buddy.
And then Demon Bag, his passive is also going down in stacks, but his protections per stack are going up. So kind of similar to previous changes, he's getting more value for less stacks.
Yeah.
Yep. So get it sooner, a couple waves sooner, honestly, which is going to be really
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
I don't think a lot of people realize just like how important kind of the auto attacks are for his kit, because a big part of his combo, right, is always stunning people and then just kind of like chaining those autos.
Yeah.
Especially because we made it so you have the double auto like anytime now. So I think this is like a change that really like pushes that cool part of him that like otherwise maybe was just like a bit of the back burner. I think it brings it more into the spotlight.
Yeah.
And then with the passive change, I think that definitely makes it a lot more consistent again, especially late game.
Of course.
When if you die and you lose the stacks or whatever, right? Then
Yeah,
bringing it back is
bring it back up a little
Mm-hmm.
easier. So that makes sense. And like you said, it's cool taking one of those mechanics that you really want to be a spotlight mechanic, but maybe wasn't operating as one, and giving it the power to become a marquee mechanic.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. So next up, we're entering the danger zone. We have Collie, and Collie can be scary to me. So
She definitely can. She
Yeah.
fell off a lot to when
She
she
did.
was super meta
I'll give you that.
earlier in the middle of last year. I want to say was like the last time
is a
we saw her.
construct. I have no idea.
It blows my mind how fast time goes.
Yeah.
But you know what doesn't blow my mind is that 1 second off of incense is going to help her a little bit. Not too much, but it's
Yeah.
going to be just enough to really feel that extra bit of control that you have as the Collie player
Yeah.
to make some more plays.
Yeah, just to get more done. So.
Mm-hmm.
and those small nudges, right?
Yeah, and like you said, it's the small nudges,
nudges.
dude. That's the craziest thing about balance to me is like from the outside. Obviously, I've talked to y'all a lot. I've hung out. I've seen some of the process, but from the outside looking in, especially having gamed a lot before I joined the company and got to meet all of y'all, being like, how is it that you come up with the idea of changing something 1% or for 1 second? That's just, it seems so small to do that over and over again to refine things like that. It always boggles my mind, So
There are some gods where you need to like change the impression of the community or the player base to really like get them to try a new god, but there are some that are just underperforming and need a little bit of help, but they are already popular, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for those characters, the smaller stuff works where they just need to have a little bit extra help stat wise.
Yeah.
And some of them need a lot more help, like Portion Chen.
See?
Examples.
See, you come here, you learn what's changing, and you learn the thought process. That is like, it's so cool to me. Like, yeah, I know I work here, but I don't always get to talk about this stuff. So I'm just going on a trip here. Thank you all for coming with me. So like it's Valentine's Day. I got to talk to the people I love about the stuff I love. So let's keep it going. I'll stop soapboxing. We got Horus up next. Our boy needs a little love. I know.
So Horus is a very interesting case because he's a warrior most often played in support, and he
Yeah.
really is, designed to play in that role, but sometimes he'll shift into solo. I've seen a couple of Horus mids from time to time, but
That's
when it
crazy.
comes to comparing Horus versus the people that he's typically laning against, he doesn't stack up in terms of his health. We noticed that he is kind of like middle of the road, kind of higher end in terms of warriors, but it's just nowhere close to Guardians. So what we decided to do is to push him up a little bit closer to Guardians, especially in the HP per level.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of extra HP per level and a little bit extra in the early game. So as he's getting towards that late game, he's going to have a lot more extra help when it comes to his just base health pool that he's going to be working with before items. But on top of that, Resolute is his passive. A lot of people don't even realize that this heals you once your passive stacks wear off. And so this number was actually very, very small previously because it was only 1 as a base. You were healing for 1 plus a certain amount per level.
Yeah.
Per stack on your passive, and so it was not very much. It was like
Negligible.
Yeah.
10 health,
very
you know.
tiny.
And I'm like, healing 10 health in this economy? No,
in this economy.
that's not how it's going to be anymore. He's going to be healing a base of 4 per stack plus 0.8 per level, and all of this is per stack as well. So if you have a lot of stacks, if you've been getting hit a lot, or hit by set a lot specifically, then you'll be healing quite a lot more, which is going to feel very, very nice for him to have that extra bit of sustain for himself personally, not for the rest of his team.
Yeah, not for everybody else around him. Cool. So next up, the buff boy. We have Hercules.
Yeah, so you would have thought Hercules would have been really loving a lot of the
Yeah, the
hybrid
recent
kind of
changes.
shifts that we did coming into 11-1, and he just hasn't really kept up, and a lot of that is due to how he kind of falls off towards the late game. He is very challenging in terms of positioning because a lot of people have gotten used to how to play around this character. This character is 10 plus years old at this point.
Yeah.
He has the bread and butter combo, right? And so a lot of times players will beads it or they will juke it. So we want to make sure that in the late game, when you're hitting these are feeling nice and rewarding.
Yeah.
So the late game base damage is going up. The rest of it is kind of following along suit, but early game is going to stay exactly the same.
Got it. That was definitely one of those, like you said, been out for 10 years. As I was learning to play, the big brain moment of like just bait out the stomp and then walk one step forward and you don't get launched at them anymore. I was like, genius. So it's definitely, there's been time to learn around it. That's cool. Nemesis is up next on the docket for the buff train.
Yeah, so Nemesis is another character that is kind of in and out of the meta.
Yeah.
It really depends on who is relevant elsewhere. But as a ranked character, she just kind of falls off quite a lot.
Okay.
Because her ultimate is really team dependent. And also she just has not had the most help in terms of her ability to kind of peel herself. She's got slows.
Okay.
That's like her whole deal is she's got slows on slows on slows.
Yeah.
So Retribution, her shield, is going to get an increase in the shield health, just a hair, just to give her a little bit more help, especially towards the early game.
That
to
edge
be able
for survival.
to use the shield on a little bit more than just an ability if that happens to be the case. And then Divine Judgment is her ultimate. This is a movement speed buff for herself. We're just smoothing out this this kind of progression. It was kind of this weird relic of previous balance where it was 10, 10, 15, 15, 20. We're just smoothing it. It won't change at the ranks that it changed before, but the ranks where it was secondarily upgraded and you got nothing for it, you'll at least get a little bit of something.
Yeah, a nudge slightly higher.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Hey, you gotta love seeing those curves smoothed out a little bit, because like you said, it'll make it feel a little more like a natural progression.
Yeah, exactly.
Last but not least, we have come to the final of the gods for buffs, and we have Chiron on here with a little giddy up.
Yeah, so Chiron's a very interesting god, right? Because he has been seeing an amount of success in mid, but even beyond that, he isn't super applicable to a lot of different levels of play. It's mostly just the people that are willing to jump into the fray and be willing to kind of dive in. So a lot of the people that are playing him now are trying to do him in Hunter, not super successful over in the dual lane.
Yeah.
And his stats are suffering because of that. So this is going to be a small buff in terms of the actual damage of the charge itself. So, those players that do want to get active and get in there are going to be doing it a little bit better, right? A little bit more damage if you're actually hitting things or you're clearing with it, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
A lot of times you aren't full committing, though, as the Chiron and actually running over people.
Hunter,
but when you do have to use this as an escape, it's going to be a lot nicer because it's 70 mana at all ranks instead of 70 up to 90, which 90 is like almost the cost of a lot of ultimates, which is kind of crazy for a dash. So we're just bringing that down to 70. But yeah, he's a character that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, especially alongside the Titan's Bane buffs. Like, those kind of go hand in hand. Chiron is can be an ability-based hunter as well.
Sure.
So we want to keep a close eye and make sure that he's not doing too well over in mid and just hunters in general, especially in that ability-based style.
Well, cool. And like that, we've talked about a lot of items in gods, and we've come to the end of it. So again, as I love to say, we have the patch notes live. Go check those out if you missed anything, you need some clarity on something, because there are plenty of good changes, some really cool spicy changes, looking at you, Serb, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure to check those out. But we have some more things to talk about before we get into talking about one of the gods that we're all excited to hear more about, featured in that cool art right there. We have the cross-gen pass to talk about. So for those of y'all who missed the first update show of the year, the 11.1 update show at Worlds, battle passes are now cross-gen passes. So cross-gen passes are a little shorter, a little easier to work through, but they're showing up every single update. You will see a new one of these with every update. That's once a month. That's like 12 a year. That's a lot of passes. And as the name would suggest, each cross-gen pass contains cross-gen content. So the skins in those passes you will have in SMITE 2 if you earn them in SMITE 1. It's just how it works. And to continue talking about legacy gems, like I said earlier, cross-gen passes cost gems to get to those premium tracks, and the gems are going to go towards your legacy gem like stack for SMITE 2, or mountain for some of y'all if you're like me. So definitely worth picking up, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Not only are there the skins, and again, if it's a cross-gen skin, it's a confirmation for a god in SMITE 2. It's like a bunch of little teasers every time we do an update, which I love. But there's also all kinds of cool stuff within the pass, such as a 50% off coupon for a chest. And it's not a chest, it's just any chest. You have 50% off. So that Hades skin that we talked about earlier, complete the battles pass, get the 50% off coupon, roll that chest, and get the new Hades skin. So a lot of cool stuff in these passes, and you'll be seeing a new one every single update. So really exciting. So let's get into this particular update and start talking about the skins, kicking it off with Gleaming Archer Hu Yi.
Yo.
Off purple boy.
Yeah, he is really purple.
He
but
is.
like purple is a cool color, so like I'm down, you know?
Yeah.
I love purple.
Every time a purple skin shows up, I get to just come back here and be like, yeah, It's purple. It looks great. I'm a fan of it. So absolutely great looking. And I mean, you know, I'm gonna keep saying it. Who ye confirmed.
Ooh, okay. The lighting and the card art kind of didn't do the gold justice here, but I think that this gold as well on top of it, or even like rose gold, would you say?
I agree. I'm a big rose gold
I kind
fan.
of love this combo, but yeah, that card art was sick. But this, I don't know, dude. This is very, very close to being just as sick.
I agree. And you want to see something else that's very sick? How about this in Smite 2? Let's check out the render.
Okay.
Oh,
The
I love the
lighting, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, that bowstring is really sick.
It is so sick.
Cool.
That's so cool. And even the arrows have a nice little glow to them too. I
Yeah.
mean, he just looks so modern. You know what I mean? Like it really feels like a character that you'd be playing in some kind of, you know, crazy futuristic game.
I think just the dynamic range is sick, right? Like you see how dark kind of the foot is in the back compared to like how bright the bowstring is. Like I just love that dynamic range.
I mean, again, since the early Smite 2 inception, when they were sending screenshots to the company, you know, like people, it was still a work in progress, and they were like, hey, here's just what On Her looks like or Shock looks like. Like the base skins early on were already so incredible. To continue to see them flush out how the lighting's going to work and all this with every one of these renders, I mean, like it's a roller coaster for every single one. And the roller coaster's not quite done yet. We have one more to show off, and that's Gleaming Defender Ares.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
All right.
It's pretty sick. You said gleaming?
Gleaming.
And they said bet.
Yeah. They said, oh, we can make it gleam eye for sure. Yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. And again, just I'm getting to this point where every time I see it, I'm like, all right, it already looks good in Smite 1, as you can see here.
Ooh, I love
Oh
this
wait,
sword.
his skin is like he's like an elemental.
Yeah, that's a boy of energy. That's a boy of gleam.
Bro, that's crazy. The sword's
Yeah.
sick. The little halo sick. I mean, Ares has wings.
Yeah,
Which is
I was
also
gonna say those
wild.
big
I
old
was gonna
incredible
say,
wings.
The wings are crazy, right? I think the shield might be crazier. That little like hole in the shield is just so cool with a little face motif too, and that's gonna breathe fire, right? So that,
you know it
that's
will.
even
Super
cooler.
well done.
And you want to know where else it looks pretty cool? In the Smite 2 render. Let's get over there.
Oh,
Bro.
All
man,
right.
that dynamic range.
The dynamic range. Like just the sheen of the shiny of the metal, because I
Yeah.
don't know what words look like.
And the light. There's a lot of light, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that like difference in terms of the brightest brights and those darker even brights, you know, it feels really, really clean altogether in this solid package. I think this is going to be a really sick skin, man.
I agree, and I mean, you're not even seeing the particle effects and all of the different effects and the way it reflects in the world.
A fire?
The
In Smite
fire.
2?
So we'll get there soon enough. The last comment before we see it in game is I like how his sword is like a sword within a bigger sword. You know, it has that
Yeah.
hollow glowing area. So he's so ready. He's got 2 swords in 1 sword. Let's check this out in Smite 1. Smite 2 will come later. I know you want it.
Ooh, okay.
Dude, I love the way those wings move too. Like,
Yeah, the extra animation for them looks really, really good.
Super smooth.
well, and they look like, despite being metal and ethereal, they look so flowy. Like they still have that really natural movement.
Oh,
to them.
dude.
I love
the
it
particle
too.
on that too is actually really sick.
Yeah, wow. The like wispy light off the edges.
I like the little like rainbow little flickers you get in there from time to time.
Yeah.
This feels really sick. Boom.
And you see, attention to detail. You use the ult. He's up in the air. What does somebody with wings do? Fly. You got the wings
Yeah.
flapping back there.
That animation is super sick.
I
love
agree.
it.
I just the attention to detail is incredible on all of these. Okay, you're right. I see the rainbow was like
Yeah, you
wisp
see a
you
little
were talking
rainbow?
about.
Yeah.
And when he threes too, you can see it pop up.
Oh, really? Okay, that's so awesome.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Our team knocked it out of the park with this one.
When don't they? You know?
Well, that's true as well.
They have to stop knocking things out of the park because soon there's nothing left in the park. We're gonna have to move the park. So, absolutely awesome. And again, both of these are part of the cross-gen pass, which we are excited about. Gleaming Valor, would you imagine, with how shiny they were? Gleaming Valor is the name of the cross-gen pass. So you can check that out along with all the other stuff we've shown off with the release of 11.2. So we've talked about a lot of things, talked about a lot of cool things, and we're finally here. We're finally talking about Newt.
Yes.
But of course, before we get there, we want y'all to see this little video first, so we'll be right back.
I'm finally here. I pray I am not too late. We once lived in harmony, grandfather, but I will not stand for this. Now you see me? Behold the starry night. From the heavens. Oh, my darling, if only every soul could be saved. I am the sky itself. Crumble to stardust. I've spent eons watching this realm. It's time for me to take action as well.
Yeah, so excited. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time community request. And I'm super, super pumped to be here today talking about Newt and her arrival on the battleground in like 6 days. But before we do that, I'm going to welcome some new faces onto the set here. Lermy's been hanging out with us already, but we have Titan GGGG coming with us today as well. Senior gameplay programmer. How you doing?
Pretty good. Nervous.
Nervous? No, don't be.
Well, the last time I was here, I was talking about Set when he first came out.
It's been a minute.
It's related though, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the next time you guys have an Egyptian god, just bring me back. I
Yeah,
guess.
we'll reel you right back in.
Perfect.
So another person I'd like to welcome is chilling in the back here. We have J-Mac, which a lot of y'all already know. Most of y'all should know at this point. J-Mac, a staple of what makes Smite incredible, especially on the esports side. But here today, welcoming him not only as a driver for Newt to help us see her in game, but also as a member of the community team, kicking it with myself and Titan Isaiah. So welcome to the community team, part of the family. So I know you're gonna do a bunch of incredible work. So all right, I could talk about that all day because I love talking about the people I work with, but we have Newt to talk about. And it's been a long time coming, bringing Lore Lady into the game as a playable character who's been working with us for so many years. Like, talk me through the process of landing here. What got us to Newt and Smite?
It's just such an honor, you know, to be working with 11 plus years of history at this point of Smite and making a character that is so beloved by the community. I mean, at first, we weren't even sure what we were going to do, right? We wanted to make sure that year 11 began with a bang, you know what I mean? So initially, we were like, okay, we need a hunter character. Who can be our hunter?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the community was like, okay, well, you know, a lot of the characters we've been requesting, one of the top ones has been Newt.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking about it. Okay, so we did a little bit of research. Who is Newt to begin with, right?
Yeah, what's the story?
Excuse me, the Egyptian goddess of the sky. And so that, I don't know where my voice is going.
It's the emotions from all of
the emotions.
It's reuniting with her.
Yeah.
I know, it's such a magical
On this
day.
day of love.
Valentine's Day miracle.
It is.
Afro
I
and
missed it.
Susano.
Yeah.
It's Newt and Geb's time.
Wow.
But to
All
get
right.
back to it here a
Yeah,
little
to
bit.
dive back in.
Newt is the goddess of the sky in the Egyptian mythology. She is the wife of Geb, the granddaughter of Ron. She is also the mother of Set, Iset, Osiris, and Horus, and also Nephthys. But
What a big, bringing the family back together.
I mean, speaking of a big family, every star in the sky is said to be her child. And every soul in the universe she protects as well whenever they reach their
What a
untimely
lineage.
end or timely end, depending on the situation.
Holidays must be wild.
She is the barrier kind of between the mortal realm and the chaos of the space beyond the sky. So she will essentially catch the souls of the deceased as they fly up and away into the sky and guide them to a happy afterlife. And she actually did that for Osiris when he met an unfortunate end due to a lot of circumstances and then was brought back. So she was a big part of that story as well. And she also is the reason that the sun travels through the sky. She is basically the basin with which Ra, the sun, will travel across and then kind of transfer into night and then come back out in the day and begin again. So she's the whole reason that day and night happens. So
well, you weren't kidding when you said you really looked into all the lore, huh?
There's a lot of it.
That is a lot.
She does a lot of things. She's very, very important in the Egyptian mythos. She is kind of one of the OGs, you might say.
Yeah, one of the originals. Got it.
And she also, of course, is the partner to one of our longtime guardians, supports Geb. So that is very, very exciting to come through. So Newt was requested, right? So that's about Newt. But why Lore Lady as well? Well, when we thought about how Lore Lady was portrayed and kind of the role that the Lore Lady played, she kind of was this observer for a very long time. And she would know so much about the realm of the mortals, but she wouldn't really ever take part in it. And then when it went back to how we actually depicted her artistically, it all just started to click into place, right? She's this beautiful cosmic woman, and we were like, it just makes sense. It just comes together, right?
It's all come together right now.
Where Newt is goddess of the sky, she has a lot of elements of the starry night, and especially that kind of motherly nature that when it comes to her relationship within the Egyptian pantheon and just to all of the souls in the universe, like just that iconic presence. perfectly aligns, especially thanks to the wonderful voice acting of our dedicated lore lady.
Yeah.
For 12 years now, can you believe that?
It's been crazy.
Years?
And for any of you at Worlds, you know, we got to spend some time working with her. A lot of y'all got to meet her. Suhaila, absolutely incredible
She's so
person.
wonderful.
Like, I kid you not, as we were getting ready for Worlds, you know, I worked very closely with her for the meet and greets. Every time I said, hey, we might have to change this, or things might work this way, or I was asking, like, is there anything I need to do for you to make you prepared for this? She was just the easiest person in the world to work with. Every time I was like, hey, I'm sorry, last minute change, we have to shift this or do that. She's like, no problem. Like, do I need to help? Are you good? Like, I don't know. It felt like we were just having fun and playing. Like, there was no stress, no whatever.
She was just so excited to be there, and I know that she has so much appreciation for the fans and the community. So I mean, thank you guys especially.
Oh, for sure.
For allowing us to keep with this partnership with her, because everyone just loves her. She's so wonderful.
Yeah, and for those of you who did get to meet her, I know that it meant the world to her as much as it did to y'all and as much as it did to us. So it really was a special occasion. So anyway, I guess let's move forward. You know, you want to see Newt in game? J-Mac, you ready to go in game?
Newt stoof. Ready to go.
All right, well let's dive right in. Let's check out Newt.
There she
is.
She really just does embody that, like, goddess vibe.
Yeah.
And she is very tall as well. And as you'll notice here, she is standing on a bit of a platform. And unfortunately for her, you know, part of her lore was that she was unfortunately separated from her poor husband Gibbs. So she is not allowed to touch the earth, as a good kind of nod to that, even despite how sad it is. I'm sorry, it's Valentine's Day, but even today, of all days, she's not allowed to.
But hey, there's still love conquers all, and they've
it
kept
does.
going through it, so it's still beautiful and romantic. So
It finds a way.
It does find a way.
Finds a way.
And it'll
You're
find
right.
its way to the dual lane because she's a hunter.
Awesome. Well, let's get a preview of these abilities.
Yeah,
so
show us,
J-Mac,
J-Mac.
show us the full, beautiful display of heavenly power.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Boom. Yeah.
All right. There's
There's a lot of stuff going on.
So many beautiful things happening here. For one, they look amazing. So let's just get that out of the way. Well, I'll say that 100 more times. But I guess let's get into it. So first of all, you got to start with the symbols. Got to start with the basic attacks. So she has these cool astral basic attacks, it looks like.
Yeah, so she is a hunter, right? So she'll be doing physical damage.
Yeah.
And she is going to be based a lot around basic attacks.
Okay.
In terms of just how she is as a class. But they are rather beautiful.
Oh,
she
they really
will
are.
be pulling out of this wonderful water pot that she has. And she is typically described as having this water pot like as her main symbol, because it does kind of go in tandem being an icon of motherhood or the womb.
Yeah.
So it goes very, very closely with a lot of her themes.
Okay.
So we thought, what better way than to kind of pull these little starry objects, kind of like a quiver, out and then just throw them out. It is a very, very beautiful and elegant solution for her.
Yeah. Well, and as a fan of the motif of space as an aesthetic, the trail of that auto attack is probably now among, if not my favorite, like auto attack trail in the game. That is so gorgeous looking.
Very
So
sparkly.
I'm a big.
It feels like ethereal water.
It does feel like ethereal water. You're right. All right. Anyway, I could stare at that all day, but let's move on to the passive. The passive is called Flux. What does Flux do?
So this is going to be basically kind of a soft stim, right?
Yeah.
A lot of hunters will have a stim in their kit. She has a different kind of stim that we'll get to in a second, but
Okay.
how this works is that each time she hits an enemy god with a damaging ability, this is damage as well, so you have to actually do damage to them.
Gotta
to
hit
make this
them.
work.
Got it.
You get a stacking attack speed buff. You can have up to 10 stacks because you can trigger multiple stacks from a single ability, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
Okay.
essentially, hit enemy gods with your abilities, and you will get attack speed.
Got it. I can get behind that. So now we're moving in to her first ability called Convergence.
Yeah, so this is the stim that I was mentioning.
Okay.
If you could just toggle it on for us here, J-Mac, that would be appreciated. So as you can see here, she gets these two kind of little orbs beside her.
Yeah.
And so you'll also notice that she has these awesome, this awesome back piece of these orbs as well. So what's happening is she's firing out 3 shots at the same time, and they're all converging into a single point. You can see how we got the name.
I get it.
And so how this is working is that she is shooting out, again, those 3 projectiles.
Yeah.
The center one functions as close to a basic attack as possible. So it still procs crits, it still
Okay.
procs basic attack items, it does all of that wonderful stuff.
Got it.
And the side projectiles do ability damage and proc ability items, etc.
That's kind of cool.
So it's a very fun little mix, and depending on how accurate you are with these shots, you know, you'll get a combination of the damage as well as, you know, the combination of effects, which is very unique for a lot of hunters. They don't have that similar way to do it.
Yeah.
The other important thing to note is that this passes through enemies and
Okay,
minions.
it's piercing.
But it doesn't pass through walls. So you can shoot these at a wall, but they will get stopped. So a good way to, you know, be careful with Newt is that you want to make sure that you're shooting directly at him and not into a wall.
Yeah, fair enough. Nothing like being like, I got him, and then it just splashes off the wall, and you're like, oh, I don't got him.
Yeah, there's a couple more pieces to this ability. I know it's kind of crazy.
Okay, keep going, please.
But as you can see with her passive meter, we've got these 4 orbs that will kind of appear off and on her back.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of to indicate how many attacks you will get at any given point using this one, because it's not a single like stack amount that you get for the amount of times they can shoot. You always get one.
It's kind of like ammo, extra
Yeah.
ammo, bonus
Okay.
shots.
Extra
Got
ammo.
it.
You do get bonus
Okay.
shots. So you always get one for free, no matter when you use this.
Yeah.
And then you can also get up to 4 extra shots, which are those little orbs that you see on her back.
Okay, cool.
So as you shoot, you'll see that they start to disappear, and that
Yeah.
will tell you how many that you have left. So at the end of this, you will have no more. But actually, wait, they're coming back. So how you actually get these orbs is that you have to basic attack things.
Okay.
It gets a little complicated, which I understand.
I can see those like the glowing stars
Yeah.
underneath the orbs there.
So
yeah.
the easiest way to track this is in the passive meter. When you hit an enemy god, you get 2 stacks. When you hit a minion, you get 1 stack.
Okay.
So each extra ammo requires 4 stacks. To get all 4 extra ammos, you need 16 stacks. So 16 basic attacks on minions, or 8 on gods, or whatever combination of the in-betweens.
Yeah.
To get all of them. And the extra other cool part is that because the center basic attack, or part of that ability, functions as basic attack, you also
Get stacks while
get
using the
stacks
ability.
back for that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you'll see here that if you were to use that like full extension, you will still get those extra stacks back.
Yeah.
And when you're done, you have more ready to go.
That's
and you're
really
probably
cool.
wondering, it's going to be on cooldown. So how am I going to use? Why am I getting these stacks now? I can just wait for the cooldown to be on. We'll get to that in a second, but just keep that in the back of your mind because we'll get there.
Okay, the back of my mind is already pretty full, so you're
I got one more for you.
okay.
You don't have to use all of them in one go.
Oh, true.
You can keep some in your back pocket.
Really, you can throw a few out and then just cancel and
Yep.
back in the okay.
Yeah, so when you cancel this ability, it puts it on cooldown, but you actually refund all the ammo that you have not used yet. So if you never shot out your 3rd or 4th stack, you'll get them back, and you'll be good to go and be able to use them when the cooldown's up next.
My mind is too full. That's really cool. I like that a lot. And that's only one ability. We still have more to talk
Yes,
about.
the rest, I promise, are a little more simple.
That's fine. I like it that way. So this is super cool. This is her second ability, Crashing Comet.
Yeah, so as you can see, when J-Mac throws this ability out, she's going to call down a comet from the sky, and it crashes down on the enemies below.
Yeah.
So it does damage, obviously, but you know, getting hit by a meteor would hurt, and it also would send out a ripple around where it hits. So as you can see, there's 2 areas in the ability here. The center one roots. The outer one trembles, and we're going to lose Odin. He's going to walk away.
Yeah, he's
Bye,
like, that
Odin.
was
We'll be seeing
uncomfortable. I gotta go.
We'll get another Odin back to continue to be our test dummy here.
Yeah.
But essentially, depending on how accurately you hit this, you get a little bit more CC and a little bit extra damage on top of that.
Yeah.
So this also counts towards flux again, because if
Okay.
you're hitting the center, you're getting 2 stacks. It's going to feel great to get more extra stacks of that ability. So you get 2 stacks of flux because you've hit him twice. Double damage, double stacks of flux.
Yeah, more attack speed. All right, well, that's super cool. Also going to be really fun to use in team fights because one person's hurting and the rest of the people are like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Very unique CC for
yeah,
as well.
very unique and very pretty. I mean, again, space aesthetic. So we're on to the 3rd ability now, Warp.
This
You
one
can
might
warp.
be one of the most fun movement abilities that we've put into the game in a long time.
Yeah.
This is an 8-way teleport. So depending on whichever direction that you're moving, you will teleport 15 units in that direction pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
you might say, oh my god, Larry, a blink? You put
Yeah.
a blink in the
You
game?
put a blink?
15 units is really not that far. So what
Yeah.
this is designed for is to kind of have a juke ability. Let's say like Scylla drops a crush on your feet. You go, uh-oh, push my 3 in whatever direction, and I'm out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry
Can't
about it.
catch me.
And the other great part about this ability has several. You might be wondering, well, okay, what's this extra circle around there? If there are enemies within the range of this circle, you will also spawn these projectiles that home into whoever is the closest god. There's 3 of them, and they slow as well.
Okay.
So they will spread out depending on how many gods are in that circle, and then the slow will also stack up if they get hit by multiple. It will prioritize gods and then minions, and it will only go to 3. If there are more than 3, it will pick the closest 3.
Okay, cool. So you're saying that if there are 3 people, though, each one of those will hone to its own different...
Yep, exactly.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Every combination, if there's 2, one person's going to get hit twice, one person furthest away is going to get hit once.
How do y'all come up with this stuff?
I mean,
I like that you called
That's
it a...
him. He made it.
I like, yeah, right. I like that you called it a juke, by the way. When while I can see it being used as that, I can also see that as a you aren't running from me, I am going to blink you down. So
Exactly. It's a little hard to chase with it
Okay.
just because it's so short, but if you really are playing aggressive and playing off a crashing comet as well, you can do a pretty solid combo.
Yeah.
Because that's not the only thing this ability does. Remember when I said to keep in the back of your mind while you were still getting stats on your one?
oh, I have to dig in the back of my mind. There's so much, but
Well, let's
yes.
back up in front now, because when you use this ability, it also resets the cooldown of convergence. So let's say you've used your convergence, you've gotten a few extra stacks back, and now you want to use it again.
Yeah.
Well, allow me to just use convergence, and it's back.
Huh.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. That's really cool. I can already see you teleport across the map, you blink in, you convergence, blink into the fight, convergence again. The combos are limitless.
Yeah, the combo tends to be very much surrounded around this reset of the cooldown. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see how players are able to manipulate the number of stacks that they get on convergence and how they use warp and jumping in and out of fights. It's going to feel really, really cool to,
Well, I mean,
to play around it.
Yeah, and what JMac just did there is just so threatening looking because you have this really wide ability basic attack, and then you blink, you're slowing people, you get to recast that, you get to reuse that. It's just such a visual, I don't know. I'm visually in awe of how cool that looked because it's just what a threatening thing to see.
It's a lot of orbs.
Yeah, it's a lot of orbs. Newt, she brought the orbs, dude.
Yeah, I mean, all of the stars are her children, right? So she's got to be calling up on them for a little bit of help every now and then, you know what I mean? But that's not even the biggest star that we've yet
That's not even the biggest of the orbs. Well, then let's get right to it. We have her ultimate, Skyfall.
So yeah, Newt's a sky, so she goes up into the sky. When she's up there, she's able to move around and aim a little bit, but she's got this giant black hole that she's charging up. Because
Yeah.
another thing about space is that space is beautiful, but it can also be deadly.
That's
and
true.
one thing that black holes are known to do is that they will pull in anything that's nearby. So if you get hit by a black hole, imagine you're getting pulled back into that center there. So you'll see that targeter has two different circles. The inner circle does the majority of the damage, and then after a short delay, that outer circle is the area that pulls people.
Okay.
That also does a small amount of damage, but it's balanced around, the pull is very powerful back to the center. You want to make sure that damage is a lot less than if you're hitting it dead on.
Yeah, of course. Man, well, here's a fun science lesson I could be completely incorrect on, and I'm sure if I am, people will tell me. But I'm pretty sure when you get sucked into a black hole, you get like stretched out or whatever because crazy gravity. Pretty sure they call that spaghettification.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
I've heard of
fun.
that.
You have? Okay, cool. So that's how spaghetti was invented. They were out in space and they dropped some wheat noodles into a black hole, and next thing you know. So
This ability was very fun to
cool
tinker with,
looking.
right? Especially, I don't know if we're on restricted camera pitch here, but if we can alt and go unrestricted and take a little gander at the sky. Very quickly. I know I'm asking quite a lot here. I apologize. I'm pretty sure it's in controls. Yeah, there it is.
I was about to
Okay, so
say.
it's on. You just got to turn that bad boy off. Beautiful. Love. We're doing a little live change.
That's what makes it fun. The live
Goes
stuff
up.
is always fun.
And you can see the whole sky is turning dark. Look at that.
Oh, that's really cool.
then
Yeah,
turns
like
back.
whoop.
Yeah, the other very important thing to note about this ultimate is that Newt will always go back to the location that she started, and she leaves
Okay.
kind of a pillar on the ground, so enemies will know where she's firing it from. The pillar goes very high up into the sky.
Got
You can
it.
see it over walls. You can also tell that she's ulting by just looking at the sky.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the map this will happen. So we wanted to be very sure that there was a lot of counterplay to this ultimate because, again, huge team pack
playmaking
effectiveness.
ultimate.
Can also be very good for self-peel, but you also need to be very careful because they're probably going to be waiting for you when you
Yeah,
come back down.
they know where you're gonna be. So
I've been bullied in many a playtest because I went back down to where I did not want to be.
you were like, I'm free, but you weren't free.
Nope.
Yeah, so combined with the small amount of movement that she has, yes, the cooldown is relatively low on that, but you're not going very far. So you can buy yourself
Okay.
some time to get your teammates back to you, but if people catch up to you, it's going to be a little scary. So
Yeah.
you might want to call up on Geb, a little bit of extra help there to get you out. She does need to kind of have this really big positioning focus to be in exactly kind of like that sweet spot
Yeah.
for convergence and with her warp as well. So all of these things combined, if you really are a master of positioning, you're going to do very, very well with Newt.
And we've just seen the way that people have learned through this community. Like people pick her up in PTS and it'll be rough, and then live and it'll be not so rough, and then a month into live and we're gonna be seeing some plays that are just unimaginably crazy. So like again, it's cool seeing a new kit with so much possibility like this because playtests have discovered so many things, and then you pass it out to the entire world at large, the community at large, and just the stuff that y'all figure out is unbelievable.
And I mean,
so.
we can even talk a little bit on the tech side as well, just like all of the really cool things that had to go into this, whether that comes to like the skybox or even just like configuring that ultimate. Like I'm sure you can talk a bit onto that.
I can try.
Please.
Honestly, it was a lot of turning things on and off. Just like setting things to true, setting things to false. Surprisingly, programming, if you know what you're doing, not that hard, but you gotta know what you're doing.
I was about to say, see, that's the thing, because I technically spent a chunk of my life programming, and to me it was always very hard because that's the struggle, is figuring out what you're doing. So like it's astounding that you can say that, because from my level you could be like, oh yeah, just go turn that off, and it would take me 15 hours of googling to be like, oh, it's a slider in this menu, or whatever.
It's really about the communication though, because a lot of times like we'll have the idea in mind, or even people will approach either of us really with ideas on how to improve abilities, and then we go, okay, well, how do we actually make this work, and how do we translate it? What do all of those like side cases look like? Are there really like small chances? What happens if you die during this ability? There were a lot of those that were very funny. We made a kind of funny joke out of a bug that we had where when Nuke goes in the sky, she has the black orb in her hand, the black hole. At a point, you were not ever losing the black hole, and it was staying in your hand. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm carrying around my basketball with me. It's just kind of hanging out.
I made it sound a lot easier than it was. One of my favorite bugs during development was during the ult, she could just, I don't know how it happened, she could just permanently juggle someone for like 5 seconds and fling them higher and higher. At one point, someone got like an Odin in jungle practice on top of one of the walls.
That's crazy.
There were some very funny interactions with the momentum and physics-based movement going on in the ultimate, so we had to make sure we ironed out a lot of those bugs before going to live, but obviously she's looking great now.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of my favorite part of working so close to this game, is sometimes a bug will pop up, and it usually lasts like a day or whatever. Like y'all figure stuff out really quick because y'all are super good at iterating, but some of them are so funny to hear about. Like they're just little nuggets that stay with me forever. So, well, super cool. So again, this is Newt. A lot of cool stuff to look forward to. Of course, the skin will launch next week, 6 days from now, with the usual skins that you're used to seeing. So we're gonna start off with her first skin, your standard recolor here. We have the card art for it. Really, really cool looking.
I just can't believe how amazing this card art turned out.
Yeah, this is the normal card art, by the way.
Yeah, this is for standard.
To start off, yeah, this is just.
It's gonna be hard to top this. Let me tell you.
It's high bar.
It is high bar. I mean, when aren't the people around here setting high bars? Like,
I mean, they just took like everything about her lore and really ran with it. Like she is watching over with this gentle gaze, and when she's talked about as being the sky itself, they say that each of her appendages reaches from end to end of the earth, and she catches them all, and she really is just reaching out, waiting for the souls to come straight to her hand.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, so let's check out the next card art. Her, the standard recolor, the launch recolor, very pretty looking.
So beautiful. This is a very cool purple. I love as well, because we're kind of staying in the spacey theme, but going kind of like inverted a little bit, where her hair previously is a lot of blue and purples, and we're swapping it up, where it's a lot more light for her hair and a lot more dark for her clothes, which I love. I think it looks amazing. Yeah,
and I mean, I don't know if I called this out while we were looking at the model live in game, but her hair is just miraculous to look.
It really
it's so cool. They did a great job.
Yeah, it's magnificent work of our teams to make her hair as just, I don't know, it's space
Chloe,
itself. Yeah,
it's spacey.
It's one of the reasons I fell in love with Atlas, because he has kind of some space hair, but Newt's space hair is next level. Yeah. So
I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I'm pretty sure it's new-ish tech. I think it's a new combination of technologies we've done.
Like you said, with the raising the bar, we've gotten to the point where the bar is so high that our teams are pole vaulting for every new bar, and they're still hitting it every time.
Yeah, I mean, there was lots of new tech that went into just her visuals as well, especially with the flowing capes. I mean, and you could just see how beautiful they turned out, even the artwork itself. The flowing being impacted by which direction that you're moving, and just transitioning through those animations just so much smoother. It's gorgeous.
Shout out to the art team.
Shout out to the art team. All right, so next up we have her Ascended skin. We have the card art for that here as well.
I just love it. It's so beautiful.
It's got the pink.
It's pink.
It's pink. I love too though how you still have that border of space, like you like in the depth of her hair, or in the crevices, and like the flowy cloak, or I guess I don't know what you call those cloaks. It looks like a scarf a little bit, a tassel. I don't know what the word is because I don't know clothes very well. But just I love how you have space chiseled into all of those different spots, and like it's just unmistakably like that is still Newt.
Yeah, it's just such a gorgeous combo of colors and perfect for the occasion, right?
I mean,
We keep going back to it,
that
but it just
romantic
works out every time.
Valentine's. Way to bring it back. Now, you can't not look at the masteries too. You got to see
Oh, we got
the way the masteries look. So let's check those out.
It's just so epic.
The gold.
We've been seeing a lot of Newt when she's nice.
Yeah.
Newt's not always nice. She's gotta put on the bad cop role sometimes when her children are acting up. You know, she's gotta put them in timeout, and maybe sometimes that timeout will be sending you to the grayscale screen. So prepare for that.
Little gray screen simulator, just a hair. Man, when your kids are acting up and your kids are the stars, how do you even deal with that?
You gotta ask Newt, man. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's a testament to her power because I wouldn't know how to do. I don't know how to deal with it when my pet rat acts up. I'm like, stop that, you. Let alone every star in the galaxy. So, just another testament to her power.
I think it's the classic "Don't make me come up there" kind of line.
Do you think she has that low? Like, do you think she counts? She's like 1, and it echoes across the galaxy, and they're like, all right, she's at 4. We have to stop.
Yeah.
So. Whew, that is threatening. So, all right, well, cool. We've done it. We made it.
We did it.
We finally get to talk about Newt, right?
That's so crazy.
I just, man, it's super exciting. And again, shout out to the lore lady. Like, she's just been incredible to work with in every way. Every opportunity we've had to work with her has been amazing. So, Suhaila, you are incredible. I hope you get to see this, and I hope you know that we love you here. The community loves you, and you are a pillar of SMITE. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I just want to thank y'all for coming out. Obviously, a couple last-minute announcements here at the very end. PTS should be going up soon enough. Just keep your eyes out for it. We'll let y'all know when the doors are open. Our Twitter should have all the info for you there. And the Dev Insight panel still going hard, still happening after this show. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that. You got to go talk, get your questions ready, read through those notes so that when that happens here in just a little bit, you have all of your questions in line and you can ask our amazing designers kind of what their thought process was or, whatever you want to ask. So as we wrap here, the last thing I want to say is stick around for a special message from the lore lady herself, Suhaila. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.
Hello, gods and goddesses. It's me, Suhaila Elatar Young, otherwise known as the Lore Lady, otherwise known as, or finally known as, Newt. I am so excited about this goddess coming out and that I am finally a playable character, and I hope you guys have a blast playing Newt. After 12 years of being with Hi-Rez and being with SMITE, this is the best thing ever. I mean, everything's been great. Everything's been awesome. But this is really awesome too. I hope you guys have so much fun. And I want to thank everybody who made this possible. Thank you.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to This is the first Dev Inside of the year, isn't it? It feels 2024 is stretched on. It's only been like a month and a half. It feels like it's stretched on long enough that we should have had one. But this is the first Dev Insight, I think, technical of the year, and it's going to be fun. I've Gore, I've got Mifflin, I've got Laramie, I've got J-Mac sitting in the room with me, and you who are watching this in chat can ask questions for ideally related to the patch, but realistically, I can't police that. You can ask whatever questions you want, but they're more likely to be answered if they're related to this patch.
There are mods in chat.
We'll probably throw them up here. There are mods in chat.
There are mods.
And we'll answer questions about things, probably and presumably, especially some of them about Newt, who is the newest god joining the Battlegrounds. J-Mac, you told me it was number 130.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gods.
It really is, man. That's crazy.
I'm going to be real. I didn't even know that this is a dumb sentence, but it kind of shows me I didn't even think about the fact that there are that many like gods.
Like
just in general.
Like in real life.
Yeah. Like that we could pull from.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I remember like our milestone of hitting like the 100th god. That was with like Yorm, Set, and King Arthur, like that kind of time frame. Like saying God 100, I'm like, that's a lot.
I worked at Hi-Rez.
And then we're still 30 beyond that at this point. I mean, that we just have so many characters in the game. I mean, to be fair, there's so much to pull from in mythology. There's so many different mythos to grab from.
Speaking of things to pull from, though, when talking about Newt specifically, she's got a lot of fun community references, right? Like we were just talking about it before the show, but her voice lines especially are so much fun. They got a lot of cute little community nods in there.
That's actually, there was someone in the chat who was mentioning that they really wanted like the gods and goddesses line, and I asked special permission from Laramie because I've heard it several times. Everyone who has heard it has been really, really happy. But she does say gods and goddesses in some of the voice lines.
That she does. She says that, and there's also a very fun little Easter egg we found from Geb. When he initially had his voice lines recorded, he had a directed taunt for Newt. Like it was recorded 10 plus years ago. And we're using it now. We finally can use it. Geb can finally taunt his wife with this 10-year-old voice.
he can finally talk to his wife.
I mean, it's been so long, you know?
It's been fantastic. We have a question ready, which makes this even easier. And we can see what exactly it is. Will Newt be in SMITE 2 on release? And is Ascended Newt cross-gen?
I don't think I can answer that question. I think I am not allowed to at this point in time, but maybe soon you'll find out.
Rod, what are you doing? Setting traps for us? What's going on here?
That was to keep us on our toes.
Get it off the screen now.
It is really fun. I'm kind of curious because I remember like, and this goes to the discussion we've had, I think, on every single one of these, like how long gods will be in production before like this part happens.
Yeah.
And it's been, I feel like so long since it was like, you know what? Newt. And like, I remember the meeting and like, I remember hearing some of the lore, but like the lead up process to like, yes, let's choose Newt. Like what was that like?
It was very interesting, right? Because we were planning along the lines of trying to figure out who was going to be the big bang, get it? Cosmic joke, haha, I'm so funny. Anyway, of year 11. And we were like, well, Newt has been a very highly requested community god for a very, very long time. A long, long, long time. And we were like, what is another way to kind of give the community a big win? And again, I kind of talked about this on the show itself, but it was a little bit like, okay, she looks like the lore lady. She does a lot of the same things that the lore lady did. That's like a fan theory that Newt is the lore lady. Screw it. Let's just do it. It's perfect. It's wonderful. It comes together, and it's amazing to really have that big historical reference finally be canonized in the game.
And finally, like you said, get to use 10-year-old voice lines that
It's
apparently
crazy,
we
dude.
had just sitting around and things like that.
Well, I can't believe that, honestly. I'm like, who wrote this? They must have thought that they were going to add Newt 10 years ago at that point.
Geb is like that's not haha in season 8. You know what we're thinking about this.
Geb is like truly OG.
He's super old, man.
Pretty sure he's pre-launch, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
Geb was one of the first few gods that came out whenever I started playing the game. Like whenever I jumped in, it was like remodeled Collie and Chalk. Like those are the two biggest things that hit SMITE at that time. And then Geb was shortly after, followed by a Gauntlet of Thebes meta that immediately got removed within 24 hours. It was fun, but now we're 10 years later.
Was a little wild, I'm not gonna lie. But I started playing when Osiris came out. Osiris, Ram, Giannis were like the first three for my tenure. So Geb was even before I started playing SMITE. That's so crazy.
That's crazy. And not only that, now we get to this point, and My brain completely stalled, man. I'm gonna be completely real.
We locked eyes and I saw the thought exit.
Yeah, you saw literally like I had the sentence, and then my brain cut it off. No, that's where forethought gets you, right? That's where planning is gonna get you. So that's gonna be something that
we did a lot of that for Newt. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's really pays off, and that's why Lermy during this one was writing voice lines for another god 10 years down the line, very obviously, because we're all thinking that far ahead constantly. Myth, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh man,
this is an interview question now.
Jeez.
And they usually start with
this interview with
they usually start with 5.
Oh yeah, normally. Yes.
Yeah, maybe I own the department. I'll run esports.
Okay.
For SMITE 3.
Oh,
Your Windows, you know. I mean, that's just how it's supposed to work.
That's a called shot, and if it's true, someone clip this and play it back for Myth on whatever social media is.
I can't wait to see it on Reddit later. I forgot I'm speaking with the authority of a dev right now. SMITE 3, 10 years.
I don't think that's how it works. Yep. I think we have something else that we can throw up on the screen, though, and we'll move away from Myth specifically. When considering the Nemesis 3 buff, how do you choose between buffing the magnitude of the shield and reducing the volatility of losing the shield to various types of CC?
I got a thesaurus on his desk, bro. Ask the question normal. What is that?
How'd you choose between big shield or anti-CC kind of? I think is essentially where it's going.
The counterplay to Nem Shield has always been hard CC. It still is hard CC. The only thing that's changed is that Roots became a hard CC, and that no longer broke, or that started to then break her shield. So we feel like that core mechanic is still very solid, very fair. It's really just that the early game number of that shield was 100, right? That's not very much at any given point of the game, especially when you're only reflecting a portion of that back. It's kind of just there to take a hit instead of really being something that you can fight around as much in the early game specifically. So that's why we decided to buff the specific strength of the shield versus, you know, what counters it.
And I know, since we're on balance, I'm gonna like use this and like pull it towards other, because I've seen some people like asking, you know, when we were looking at Mammon, right, where it's like, how do you balance some of the data points? And I think this can be relevant for Nemesis as well, like data points versus like community sentiment, where if somebody says, hey, like this god's really strong, which I think Myth, like very recently you were very adamant about a god being strong, and then we pulled up we collectively Max pulled up numbers, and the opposite was true. Like they were
what the god was.
He was mid-winning.
Oh, you were saying Kuzenbo. It was
Kuzenbo needs nerfs.
Oh, was it Kuzenbo? Yeah, that's right. That was his. I think you followed it up with, check me again in like 2 patches.
They're gonna figure it out, and you know what? I'll get the word out now. You guys need to start playing Kuzenbo right now. You're gonna win more, and then I'll have some fire behind me when I can get him nerfed in the future.
Yeah, whenever you come back to me and he's actually got the numbers and the perception, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
We'll get there. This patch has done it.
Now we know.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
right.
like this patch is in like
this patch show, yeah.
Okay, this
now
patch.
It's time.
So,
Now you've got the fire burning, right? So
This is a lot.
We'll group back up on Monday.
This inside has just turned into Mifflin planting a bunch of seeds that eventually later we're gonna sow.
Yeah, you guys are going to. Yeah.
So we've got 10 years in the future.
We as a collective.
Both running departments and
leading balance.
Well, I was like, are you making? I don't know. We'll see.
But
10 years.
to
10
answer
years.
your
That was a
question,
wild call.
Let's go back like 2 steps. I want to answer your question.
Yeah, that's probably smarter.
It's very important, right? Because there's a lot of different places of feedback that we go to look to see whether it's the data, whether it's shrinking that data to have only particular subsets of the player base, whether that's the skill or the match or the rank or the role. There's a lot of different things that we can do to make sure that we are getting accurate data. But there's also going to be the way that the community talks about it and the sentiment around it. So for instance, for Mammon, we knew that we had to nerf the 3 because there were lots of talks about the 3, and we understood that if we didn't nerf the 3, we nerfed something else, it would probably be a little upsetting for players because the 3 seems to be the point that players are hanging on to the most. But of course, you know, just because of our data and how our damage is spread out, if we pour all of the nerfs into the 3, it's not going to do all that much, especially because it's a dash. So we gotta have to spread it out a little bit, and that'll kind of get the effectiveness spread out for the nerf, so she will get a more effective nerf while also kind of still doing the thing that the community wants us to do.
Nailed it in one. We're just gonna give that a little bit of like breathing room for the clip so that we can replay it anytime anyone asks a question like that.
We'll do like proverbial anger translator. Lermy's essentially saying, like, we have to trick the community into thinking we're doing what they want, but they don't know what they want, right? So you gotta get around to it and actually adjust everything about a god instead of just one pain point.
Well, and I guess it's more or less what you elaborated on, right? But like sometimes it's like, hey, this thing's bad, but it's like that thing's bad because this thing's bad. That's actually what's making this an issue.
It's tough because players have all kinds of different experiences, right? Some players are only arena players and like, well, my mom's not that good. She stinks in arena.
Well, she does.
But I might be a Grandmaster Conquest player who only plays support, and I'm like, this god carries games. What's going on? Like, why are we not nerfing this character? So all kinds of different perspectives come together to kind of find this core. Who is kind of the majority here? What do the majority of players say across the variety of modes, across the variety of skill levels, roles, whatever it might be? And that also has, the most weight kind of in that when it comes to perspective, and then also the data will follow up. Because again, we have characters that feel balanced. Like there are characters like, I mean, they're kind of bad examples in a sense, but like Giannis, King Arthur, Umoja, all very low statistical win rates. But people are like, these characters are either really, really good or they're like balanced and they're chill. And it's like, they have sub 45% win rates. That would normally be red flag, like we gotta buff them. They are urgent need of buffs. But if the community thinks they're balanced, we're chilling. We don't have to do anything to them.
And chilling we are. Continue chilling. I like this question because it's thematic for today, which is what Smite god would be your Valentine? It's almost related to the patch in the sense that it's Smite related.
Thanks, Chad. You guys are really cooking, fellas.
So I'm going to start with J-Max. You haven't said anything long enough.
Whoa, hold on. Wait, I'm being put on the spot here. Am I choosing who my Smite God Valentine would be?
I was so certain J-Mac was to say I've got a partner.
I actually
don't ask me that. I got a partner.
I thought he was going to be like, this god.
Oh, really?
But I guess there are 130 gods.
There are 130 gods.
Yeah.
I do have a partner, but if I had to have a Smite Valentine, it's probably going to be either Nox or Nemesis.
He's got a type. Man's got a type.
Called shot. There you
easy.
go. Nox or Nemesis.
Easy go-to.
Larry, you looked like you were dreading the question.
Well, here's the thing. I'm the only one that's single at this table, so.
You can pass on the question if you want.
Oh, no, I'll answer the question. The answer is Tsukiyomi. There you go.
There you go.
No, that checks out for sure. Where's Susano on that list?
He's like fourth.
I knew he was top 5.
Fourth, okay.
I knew he was top 5.
He has to skip past like Achilles and Lancelot, but then
Really? Oh, you know what?
I can see Lancelot, yeah, for sure. A lot of people like Lancelot in the community. Mifflin.
Yeah, I was gonna say you seemed like you were trying to dodge there by redirecting the question.
Isn't there like a Terra skin where she's like got bare hands or something?
She does have like where she's wearing a bear pelt.
Yeah, that's the one. That
specific one
in particular, or I don't know, Tsukiyomi as well. I got to give Lermy some competition.
I'm going to be honest, I forgot the original question and was thinking about favorite gods and not whatever Valentine.
Your Valentine,
was
yeah.
Valentine?
Yeah, your Valentine would be.
Well, I'm the host. I don't have to answer that. Is there a date for PTS? Someone wants to know. I don't know how that works.
Theoretically, as far as I understand it, it is possible that it will be today. It usually is the day of the patch notes show, but depending on what's going on in the back end, it may be sooner or later. You never know. Could be right now. It's going to depend on what's going on the Twitterverse. So make sure you're checking out there. They will let you know when PTS is live. So keep your eyes on Twitter. They'll give you the exact time.
Maybe it's up right now. Check Steam.
Oh, it's live right now. We just got a heads up.
We got the thumbs up from Isaiah.
Go play
That was impressive. That was the so there you go.
There you go.
Go play. Watch this on one monitor. Go play PTS on the other.
Yeah,
monitor.
I want to see the nude plays. Let me see the Skyfalls you guys are hitting.
That's the ultimate, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to make sure. I'm still as well.
Like immediately ran through. Like I've only played one game of her up to this point. I was like, which one is that?
I was thinking James Bond for some reason. Is that a movie? Is that James?
Yeah,
Bond?
I think Sky was like one of the more recent. Craig James Bond movies.
Yeah, we were discussing names for it, and we were like, we want this kind of catchy, like one word. And there were a lot of things that passed through. Like we had oh god, what's it called? Event Horizon was another one that passed by. That ended up being an achievement name for her. There was also there's one word that I'm forgetting. I have it in my Slack. I literally was messaging one of the programmers that worked in her achievements. I was like, Singularity was the other one. That's what it was. I was like, it could be Singularity or Skyfall. Which one do you like better? And we picked Skyfall.
I'm a big fan of the abilities that in their name tell you what happens. Because the sky falls. That's it. That's what's going to happen right here. And you got it. Landfall doesn't make as much sense. The land's not falling. In fact, if I'm thinking about it, it's coming out of the
Well,
ground.
it pulls it up and then it does fall down. But yeah, it's the secondary.
Suppress the insolent? I don't even know what that means, bro. There's like 2 words in there.
Saurus guy wrote
Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Like, what's going on here?
I feel like we got a lot of those in Newt's kit though, because she's got Convergence, she's got Crashing Comet, she's got Warp. All of those are like literally what they do.
It was you, by the way. The Warp, right? So, because it's one of those things, like when we have dashes in Smite, you know, some of the ones that are, you know, hey, this is jumping over walls. Hers is shorter than a lot of the others. That being said, I've learned, and it will be forever ingrained in my mind, that it is large enough to get through a Ymir wall.
Yes.
Because Mifflin, in one of the playtests, like one of the first times you're playing her, I got this sick wall. I was so proud of it. And then I just watched you disappear, and this is before I had read anything about it. Like I was not paying attention when we did the rundown, which is on me. And I saw you go through it, and I felt really bad. And now I'm never gonna forget about that. So.
It's just long enough. It's very very close.
It's such a short dash. It really is.
Isn't it same range as Merlin's?
It's shorter than Merlin.
Shorter than Merlin.
Shorter than Merlin.
Wow, and that's already a very
quite a
short
lot.
range.
I want to say Merlin is 30.
I thought it was like 25, but
It might be 25 or 30. But anyway, hers is 15. So keep that in mind. It's very small.
But it is enough to get over a Ymir wall.
Yes.
Maybe literally just enough to get over a Ymir wall, but it is enough. I think we have another question before I pull this. So I want to see what we have versus what I was going to ask, which is how much data does the team have during balancing beyond just win rate and damage? Do you see individual ability, hit rate, and damage, etc.?
So I don't know exactly. So this is just from what I understand from our goated data guy, Max, or Innocent Rabbit, for those of you that like to go on the YouTubes. Make sure to drop a sub, ring the bell, all that good stuff for him. Has very fun videos. But anyway, he has told me in the past that he's able to see kind of like a snapshot of timeline. So essentially we can see how much damage, how much mitigation, etc. has occurred by a particular point in the game. He's also got match lobby stats, of course, that's coming in. He's got pick rates, win rates, ban rates, and can spread them out throughout different MMR ranges, etc. And there's a lot of that kind of like niche, kind of very granular stats that you wouldn't normally look at. Like, for instance, we can determine super easily, we can say like, okay, in this patch, Hades needs a buff. Why is Hades bad? And then Max will go, okay, well, in the late game, he starts to fall off on damage. Like maybe compared to mages or soul laners, he's like second in the early game. And he's like got an extremely good early game. And then all of a sudden, you get to 25 minutes and he's dead last or something like that. That's just an example, right? That's not the actual stats that we're looking at, but that's kind of the way that we can see, okay, if he's dead last in damage, but he was so good in the early game, there's something off here. We gotta make a specific direction to get closer to him being towards the middle of the pack to help him out there. So it's okay for gods to have strengths and weaknesses, but we don't want them to be sitting at the bottom or very, very close to the bottom. And of course, some gods got to sit there, right? But that's just the nature of balance. Every god's going to be at the top or the bottom of something eventually. So we want to just kind of make sure that that is shuffling through at a manner that feels appropriate for everyone.
And even speaking to that, I had heard maybe conversation around, well, maybe a god's dying too much at the late game. So you can look at survivability as an option, or damage fall off, as you said, or things along those lines. Maybe their objective damage is a little bit low, things like that. But really the most impressive thing is where you can choose to pull that data from. Sometimes you want to isolate data from casual conquest, or maybe you want it from a certain MMR range. There will be huge delineations and distinctions between a Diamond 5 lobby and a Grandmaster's lobby on god effectiveness. For example, I know for a fact that casual players are very frustrated with gods like Loki. Good luck getting a win on Loki in a 3,000 MMR lobby, right? So there's a lot of data you can pull from and parse and, I suppose, digest in certain ways.
That's, I think, my favorite thing about it's something like I tried to pull for SPL stuff, and by I mean I asked Zayden to pull it for me, the same way that we would ask Max or Innocent Rabbit, however you want to refer to him, to pull it, where it's just like, hey, getting more and more in depth. And like I actually did at one point ask, can we get everyone's like basic attack accuracy for SPL?
That'd be so funny. Oh my goodness.
I think there were two things that came up. One was that we only register when it's hit, not when it's fired. And so for at least for SPL on the damage server, because that's how, or the damage combat log, that's what it's called. And so that didn't work. But also it was like, hey, this might take like legitimately 6 weeks to try and pull all of that, because we'd have to go through everything. thing all over again. Might be easier for something like, hey, what happened yesterday? But I'd still imagine that would take a super long time. Chat, I want to ask you a question because I'm curious if this is like a bit and I'm not a part of it. I have seen so many mentions about Cupid. And I don't know if it's like is it just like it's Valentine's Day, so we're talking about it?
It is Valentine's Day.
Or is it like, is there like a joke that's happening? I mean, is there something I'm supposed to know other than Valentine's Day?
There was
assume it's just Valentine's Day.
There was a bit during the show about Ishtar. I guess it's just moved away from Ishtar to now Cupid. I think it's
What's a bit about Ishtar?
just people wanting Ishtar changes or something like that. I don't fully know. I just saw Ishtar's name popping up a lot during at least the main part of the show.
Well, she did okay, I think, during Worlds, right? She's like middle of the road.
She was like a top 3, top 4 pick.
I misread Vile's message and I thought it said Buff Gore Cupid chat has spoken, like he was talking to I don't know.
He was speaking to Cupid.
To like make me stronger.
Oh.
Yeah,
No,
or
that's
I guess
what I
maybe
do,
more
right?
physically appealing. That'd be kind of nice, actually. Yo, Cupid, what up, bro?
When I buff the gods, right, I call them up on the phone and I say, hey, you're allowed to do 5 more damage now, just so you know. You can if you want. And they go,
You call
if
the
you
gods
want.
themselves.
Yeah.
Physically.
That's
my job
crazy.
as a
You got
designer.
Tsukiyomi's number?
I got all of them.
That list
every
of like
single
who's
one of
gonna
them.
be a Valentine was literally just like Lermy's like, I'm just gonna go home and start cold calling. Like,
Goodness.
I guess because they keep mentioning, I'm gonna ignore the Cupid part, but just in general, when you're looking at like, I know we have data and stuff that comes up, but like otherwise, is there ever like a period where you're just like, you know what, this god hasn't seen a change in a while? Like where does that come from in some of the most like isolated incidents?
Sometimes that'll come up, right? But the general gist of things is that we try to kind of evenly distribute the exciting new things per patch, if that makes sense.
Sorry, someone said Gore ignoring Cupid is part of the problem.
I just played Cupid the other night. He was real fun.
I have to play more Cupid as well because he's one of the last hunters that I don't have a star on. So Cupid's on my list of gods to spam. So.
Wait,
Y'all got stars.
you're counting stars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many stars do you have?
I have, so there's 130 gods now. Newt's not out yet, but I have 79 out of 130 gods with a star on them.
Right.
So we're like a little over half.
That's just
How many-
79 with at least one
more
star.
than
How many
More
have more
diamonds
than
than
one?
I have.
Do you know?
I want to say like 20.
Do we have account playtime? Has anyone played more Smite than you?
Oh, there's lots of people. There's plenty of
okay.
people. I
There's
could
a
name
ton
at
of
least
people.
20 people.
Okay, give me 2.
Shot.
Who?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's a
Solar
good point.
Troll?
Yeah.
That guy.
I mean, that guy doesn't
That
count.
doesn't count.
He doesn't count. He's not
That dude.
He doesn't count.
That's on me for setting the bar real low. I
He's
kind of
literally
forgot how
playing
much.
right now. He's probably watching this in queue.
I play a lot of Smite, but there are lots of people that play more than me.
They play a lot of Smite too.
Sam might have more game time than you on live on his PTS. Like he's playing that much Smite.
I have over 3,000 hours on PTS and on the dev server.
Word.
So
Word.
that's testing. That's me being in QA for
This
a year.
this feels like the
Also
same when the
testing.
pro players would put up. Yeah, but look at our custom game time. Like
Oh, dude, my
It's-
custom
it's
game
the
time
same.
would be
That's like how it was for me in like spectate time. Like when we were doing the amateur stuff, like we had to do a lot of our own spectating. So it's like, yeah, you see, it shows I've got like 5,000 hours on the client, but like probably 2,500 of that was at least just watching games as opposed to actually playing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's very funny that I look at my Steam games, like my most played Steam games, and it's Smite. The Smite main client has like 9,000 hours. Then it's like 4,000 on the dev client, 3,000 on the PTS client, and then 200 in Skype. I played basically only Smite.
I think I only have like one other game over 1,000 hours on Steam, and that's Ark. That's about it. Outside of that, it is Smite, Ark, and then everything else at like 200 or less.
Yeah, we play a lot of Smite here.
It's a lot of stuff.
Or test
You
a
know
lot
what?
of Smite. Work on Smite a lot.
yeah, I was gonna say it's you're just bringing. Well, never mind. I'm not gonna say the thing I was gonna say because that makes it sound a lot worse. You're really passionate about the game.
That
That's
is
the better
true.
way to word it.
Yeah.
Chat, please ask us some
Yes,
questions.
please ask some questions
Please.
I-
We're waffling out here.
about the patch.
I feel like I'm at like a Shoney's right now.
You know what?
There's so much waffling.
Do you guys have any questions about Newt?
Yeah, some Newt questions, guys.
I will also say I'll give some appreciation that Newt's abilities are very easy to say and they're like shorthand. Like
You're so welcome.
As a caster, like the easiest thing is being able to say,
Whoa,
you know,
whoa,
what.
X caster. All right.
That's not to say I'll never.
Community member.
That's not to say I'll never come back. No, community member.
Community
Well,
yeah, we're all
specialist.
That's
Oh.
Community specialist.
and member. We're all part
We
of
are
this.
we are all community members.
true.
But as somebody who has casted the game professionally,
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you qualify yourself.
As somebody who has technically not casted the game in the least since SWC has ended. No.
Yeah.
But for people who are going to be continuing the casting with the community and such like that, I know that like one of the biggest things is being able to very easily have abilities that flow off. And so having a god like Newt with very easy to say abilities, as Gore said, essentially saying what the ability does, Comet Crash or Crash and Comet and Skyfall, things like that. It makes it very easy for us Share One dumb brains to go, yeah, I say the ability, that's exactly what it does. So
no, some of them are intentionally mean, like Soul's Kit, Supernova, and what's the other one? Stellar Burst or something?
Yeah. Stellar Burst.
Which one's which? You know, which one's which?
Yeah.
The Stellar Burst is the one that bursts out and comes back in.
Right.
And then Supernova is, you know, you're bow, 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 bow.
Yeah. That's how I think about it, too.
No one's forgetting Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, though.
I have.
Who could
already.
forget?
You've got a good point. When I pull up ability names, Suppress the Insolent and Whirlwind of Rage and Steel are on the very top of the list. So maybe we need to get.
Listen, the one that I have a lot of trouble remembering is Vulcan's ult.
Earthshaker. He shakes the earth when it crashes down, where Hercules breaks the earth to pick people up. Earthbreaker.
We have Shaker and Breaker.
We have Earthbreaker, Earthshaker, Ferocious Roar, and Furious
Roar. That should all be illegal.
Yeah.
Overload and Overflow.
Yeah. And I'm thinking,
kinds
you
of
know,
fun.
balance changes are cool. What if we just do rename passes? Like, who's that gonna hurt?
What if I give Smite?
I'll do it for you. It's so easy, I bet.
No, what we'll do, we'll open up Smite and we'll give it to like a bunch of first and second graders, and they can rename the ability what they want to name it, and we'll just go from there.
Change a text box, right?
Yeah, you just open Control F.
There's no
find and
Control F,
replace.
There's no Control F.
Yeah, you just find and
it's over
replace.
for me.
Laramie, I've worked in Google Docs before.
It's not Google Docs, so sorry.
It's the DB, bro.
Yeah, no, you guys are learning. You're learning what I have to go through on a daily basis.
You call it the DB reminds me of how like Yu-Gi-Oh changed it to the GY for the graveyard because they just had to fit more text on the card, so they had to shorten everything.
I think we got some questions.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The question is what it is. Will Geb and Newt have some special voice interactions?
Yeah.
Knowing Laramie, I hope so.
They do. They have direct taunts versus each other. It's actually very funny. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Geb's is 10 years old. And Newt's is brand new, but it's very cute. It actually is one of the lines that played during her gameplay trailer. She says something like along the lines of like, she's like, I wish it didn't have to be this way, or like, I wish I could save everyone. It's very sad when Newt kills Geb, and when Geb kills Newt, he says, Newt, no.
Run that back again, please.
Newt, no.
Okay.
There are times where I really just want,
Wow.
and like for April Fool's Day patch, I really just want like, hey, we replaced all the sound effects with like just in like random people going like doing, donk, and stuff like that. Like
So
I want
for Mama
I want that.
When Mama Brigitte was in development, one of the FX artists was trying to temp in like a place for them to hook up an FX to. And instead of like putting in an actual audio cue from a different god as we usually would do in a work in progress environment, he just said, hey, hello. So anytime you clicked on Mama Brigitte, she would go, hey, hello. And I would get jump scared because I'd be sitting in Discord and this random voice of the FX artist would come in and I'd check my Discord and I'd go, nope, okay, it's just Mama Brigitte again going crazy, making me lose my mind.
Nice.
Very funny. Good times.
Good times.
Do we happen to know what Geb's interactive line with Newt is? Is it just the Newt no? Like that's the only one? Or, okay.
No, we did it.
Well, I didn't know.
Hold on, one more time?
No.
Newt, no.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Mac, yeah.
All right. Got the clarity. We're good now.
I think we have a second one that was queued up. We can move to that, which is will /4v4 be the entire duration of this patch or only during designated times?
So we're still determining exactly what is going to be best moving forward for us to get the best data on what you guys are looking for in terms of, you know, how often you want to be playing it. Because we understand that just out of the blue replacing a mode is going to be very scary for a lot of people, especially if that's like the main mode that they play, especially if they're like parties and they go into it and all of a sudden you're losing a member of your party. That's really something that we want to keep in mind. So please let us know if this is something that you want to have on all the time for a patch, if this is something that you want to really try, if you're excited about this, please let us know, because we will put it on for longer if that's something that you guys want to do. But at this point, we're still determining exactly how long we want to do it for and how often.
And vote with your playtime. If it's something you enjoy, play a lot of it. We can look at that. We see that and we say, well, if more players are now playing this, well, it's pretty clear that you guys like it.
Yeah.
Post on social media, post on Reddit. That's part of what I do now moving over to community is looking
this
through
guy.
all of the stuff that has to kind of pop up on socials and really start passing that feedback in.
JMac has read literally every single post since he has switched positions. It's
Isn't it
insane.
fun?
It's so much fun. I will. So this is a small spoiler.
I heard
for,
a hint of pain
so,
there.
So this is
of a
actually
broken
a
man.
small spoiler for what's going to be happening Friday when we're on the show, and we
You got
did
the authority to spoil things.
we
now?
got clip submission
Yeah.
for stuff that's going to be happening on Friday, and I actually pulled one of those from the Reddit. So if you're posting things on Reddit, you might just end up on a show at some point.
And which Reddits are you checking out?
I'm checking the Smite Reddit, so r/Smite, and I also still watch r/Smite Pro, but there's not nearly as much that goes up on there, but r/Smite.
Like that.
Well, no, I'm
man's
just-
gone for 1 week.
No, I'm just saying that like there's not much esports going. Like right now on the Smite Pro, they're talking about like the Mount Rushmore of each of the different roles out there right now, which is kind of cool to see the interaction, see
That's
what
really
people
fun.
are voting with. But outside of that, you know, they had the Bobby tournament that just happened recently. There was a lot of positive around that one. I think he just released the video with the highlights on that one. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the community, and we're making sure just to kind of keep eyes on that.
All right, so who wins? 1 fire giant-sized Cupid or 10 Cupid-sized fire giants?
10 Cupid-sized fire giants.
Oh,
He's already like.
Are they equal strength at this point? I mean, like,
No, you gotta.
I don't know. There's a
scale
look.
down.
I'm just
like what's the strength of this?
He's got
I'm
crit. That's all that
assuming-
matters.
Yeah, if you have 10 little like Cupids.
Well, 1 late game Cupid can already do a lot of damage to 1 big fire.
not nearly at the
It's Solo's
He's not
fire
gonna
giant.
survive.
Well, not anymore because of the
And
sustain
fire
nerf that
Oh,
came
you're
through.
right.
So without the sustain nerf, I don't know. Maybe the 1 fire giant. No, I think 10 again still wins because there's just 10 of them critting.
Nah, I mean, if they're Cupid sized, I'm throwing 1 roundhouse and I'm taking out 5 with the first.
Isn't a
kick.
Cupid-sized fire giant just the minion that Surtur like calls out? Essentially, that's
That is
just
a Cupid-sized-
that's a Cupid-sized fire giant.
And I crush those into dust.
1 crit, they're gone.
And they're only there for like 4 seconds, man.
That's right. 3 seconds if I'm there because 1 punch.
I've been scrolled up so far that I didn't notice when we were talking about names. Billy had mentioned Through Space and Time versus Through Time and Space.
Different games. Different games doesn't.
But that's
matter.
But I cast both of them.
That's on you, bro.
And the character is Janus and Genos. Like
Different
it's
games
that
doesn't
it's
matter.
that similar.
That was a fun time, and to the point where I would go home from broadcast chat. This is a good little peek behind the corner. And Katie would tell me, by the way, you called it the wrong name today. And I wouldn't even have to question it.
Oh, that's
I'd
so
know what
messed
ability
up.
she was talking about. She's like, yeah, so like it's through. But when I get put on the spot, I can't remember. It's Through Space and Time.
Through Space and Time is Smite.
Yeah, you got it.
Through the cosmos. Who's through the cosmos?
That's right.
That's
I'm not gonna say.
Well,
I almost.
Nope.
If he doesn't get it, I've got it. But
I got it,
Please
bro.
let J-Mac say it. He wants to say it. So J-Mac, I got it, but please feel free.
you should know.
Yeah,
You-
like
you-
I know.
it's okay.
Hey,
There's-
I
there's-
know.
there's-
I just want to make sure that
there's-
you know. You know, like so. Like you should say
so
it.
who is it, folks? Who is it?
It's Ratatosker.
It is Rattata.
Oh yeah, because he gets up on. That should be like, hey, he jumps on branches.
Right.
Can you tell it's been a while since we've done a broadcast?
Through the birch tree.
If you're wondering, when you put us in a meeting like this also starts to happen after a certain period of time,
just
and
falls
I'm sure
apart.
for Lermy it's very frustrating because Lermy
It's
wants to
familiar
get
to,
stuff
me. I do recall having some brainstorming meetings go a couple different directions. I do recall specifically Martikaros was a good one where you had a bit. I do remember this bit.
I have a bit.
Yeah, no, this is great.
I have a bit.
Do you remember specifically
bit?
for Marty
No. I don't
when
have
you
no idea what
you
you're
kept
talking about.
pitching abilities?
Oh God. Am I gonna have a job after this show?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, please.
Yes. So the bit was, okay, so he's a lion, right? Well, why doesn't he do a melodious roar?
Oh.
And you kept coming up with different-
No, you need to have the melodious because in canon, whatever that monster is called, what is he? He's a
Manticore.
Yeah, they roar melodiously to call in their prey. They're kind of like mermaids.
Sirens?
Like sirens.
We're sirens, right? So I was
Yeah.
like, melodious roar. That'd be sick, yeah.
And you know what? We'd be having a real different conversation right now if he had a melodious roar.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, kind of would operate similarly to like Apollo's too. So maybe that's a little lame. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Who cares? What goes into making the ult the cherry on top for a character?
Oh, it really depends on what the character does, right? Because for some characters, like Newt's ultimate is kind of like, it is like the cherry on top, right? But for other characters, it's a very integral part of their kit. Like one example that I can think of is like, for instance, like the stance shifters, like they need to have that ultimate the way that it is, or else they're just not going to function. other characters like King Arthur, you build up the energy in your whole kit to like be able to do the really cool ultimate at the end. Newt, it doesn't necessarily have a big thing to do with your kit, but it's still really fun and really, really cool. And that's what matters the most when you design an ultimate, is that you want to have that big like power play moment and feel as the player that you are doing something really, really cool. And you feel like this is my time to do my thing and go crazy. And that's what most of them do.
Has there ever been a point where you were working on a different ability and thought this is too cool for a regular ability and had to move it to an ult?
It happened with Ishtar. It was Ishtar.
Nice. I'm so glad that question landed, bro.
It happens a lot, actually.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot about this.
Ishtar's ult was originally going to be her 2. And they were like, well, we're not like in love with any of these ultimate pitches that we had. Like, let's go back to the drawing board a little bit. And I'm like, well, you know, I do really like this ability. It wasn't finding a home in the current like kit in terms of like the normal like moment to moment flow. But what if we like zhuzhed it up a bit and made it an ultimate? And then it just happened. It was cool.
Is a stance switcher born preemptively decision like, yes, this is going to be a stance switcher, or hey, we've got a lot of ideas for normal abilities and we can't think of an ult, so let's just give them.
I'm trying to think of like an example that I would know, because I started working on Smite in 2020.
There haven't been a lot of stance switches.
Yeah, they're really hard to make.
Yeah.
Tiamat,
because they've got like 6 abilities.
And every skin is 2 skins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiamat was like the one that I can recall. I was not on the design team at that point, so I didn't really have any insider info, and I was really only there for her like end stage when she was getting tested, because I joined right before Danzaburo released and right after Tsukiyomi released. So when Danza released, Tiamat was coming to a close. And yeah, I don't really understand how it got to be the way that it did personally. Clumsy would be the one to ask on that. I'm sure he has a great idea for that of how they actually got there. But I think in general, I mean, Clumsy is known for this. He's known for the very complicated many ability kits. He's got Merlin. He's got Tiamat. He's got you know, a lot of other characters that do things like that, especially with like Shiva, who has the multiple dances. He's always got to have.
I'd argue he's been dethroned.
Has he been dethroned?
I mean, like, can we talk about Maui for a second?
Okay, Maui still has 4 abilities though.
Yeah, and all 4 of them do 6 things.
Okay, not quite the same, but I see what you're getting at.
I had one question on Newt's ultimate. What was kind of the path along her ultimate to go from, like, you know, banishing another, you know, self-banishing another god, throwing up into the sky for a long duration, but what kind of led to the decision to make it to where she now returns to the same point compared to other self-banished style gods where they can still kind of free roam around? Is it just because so many other gods did that and there was frustration on it?
A lot of lessons from Marty.
Oh, okay.
Let's
fair.
just say that. I think I can end it there.
Mic drop.
No, I think that's easy.
Really insensitive question, J-Mac. Leave the questions to Chad.
You know what? That's right. It's my job to listen to and look at what the community has to say and kind of push that forward. So community, say some more things so I can push that along.
Chat, thank you for on-the-job training. We have a question, which hopefully I'm wondering if it's going to be the one that I was going to pull up. I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
Here's the new one. Follow up to the ult. This is exactly what I was going to ask. Has there ever been a god where you have the ult conceptualized first and had to work backwards from there? And this can be, I guess, both for like in kit or maybe even like god decision. Like, yeah, I really want this to happen in the game. Therefore, this guy's got to be a god now.
I'm trying to think about like ults. I can think about not ultimates. Like Clean is a really good example of we wanted to do something cool with walls, and like a ghost lady makes sense to do that with, right? Any gods that I've worked on have been like that. No, not that I can think of that I recall from that process. The ult is usually like, again, kind of like we said, the cherry on top, where it's like we have cool ability ideas. Let's find a really cool way to make this character do the big epic thing that they want to like have their moment to do. I think with Charon might be the one where it came the earliest, where I was like, okay, I want to just do a gigantic tsunami, and that would be freaking cool. He's got the river Styx. Let's make it the river Styx. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was maybe the one that came the earliest in the iteration process that I was like, I feel good about this, like theming. But other than that, it was a little bit difficult. With Newt specifically, we were like, we always knew we wanted to do a go up in the sky ultimate. She's the goddess of the sky. She's got to go up in the air. That just felt like that was hook, line, and sinker. Like, boom, that's what we want. She's the sky, right? So why would she not go up into the sky? What she actually did in the sky, that was the hard part.
Yeah. We know she's going up there. And eventually she's coming back down.
Yeah. And we felt like, again, there was a lot of community sentiment around the previous Sky Ultimates that we had. wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we wanted to make sure that whatever this design was, it was very fair and had some counterplay to it, because we understood a lot of the challenges that come with playing against those characters, and especially in playtests and things like that. We were very, very diligent about checking, did you guys feel like this was fair? Was this an interaction that you felt okay with? Was anything about this like really challenging to deal with? Because we are coming at it from both angles, right? We want Newt to feel really good, but we also want her to be fair. And they're contrasting ideas, right? Because like the closer that you get to unfair, the better that she feels, right? Because if she's just like smacking people around, CCing them for 10 years, like she's gonna feel awesome. She's gonna feel broken and OP and on top of the world, right? But then everyone else is like, I can't do anything. I can't fight against her. So there's like a very, very, sometimes it's hard to hit midpoint of like everything feels great, everything is fair. I had a good enough chance to react to this. This damage wasn't insane. The CC effect wasn't insane. And like the Newt player felt awesome doing it. So like all of that combined together, is kind of where like we try to land. It's not always successful, as you know, will happen from time to time, but I think in general, design like on paper is a lot easier to rationalize with than design in practice.
Yeah. With the general pipeline of the guide, you know, it starts at the brainstorm phase, and then you eventually kind of put together, you know, some mock kits to try and figure out what you want to do, and then eventually you kind of lock in thing. Was there an ability for Newt that you really wanted to be on this god, but it didn't get to make it into the final kit?
Oh, I want to say yes. I had a feeling there was an ability that I really liked that I didn't get to do. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head though. It definitely happened though in previous iterations where I've gone back and been like, hey, this ability didn't make it for, I can't remember exactly, but let me just say like Ishtar is like an example of something like that I've worked on. This ability didn't make it on Ishtar. Working on another hunter, maybe we throw this on here? What do we think? Does it make sense like in the new context of the character? Because obviously, I mean, the 3 hunters that I worked on have very, very different contexts between Ishtar, Newt, and Martikaros. One's a manticore, another is this kind of like badass warrior lady, and then the other one's just like regal, like celestial goddess. So they all have very different vibes, but maybe we can repurpose the theming of the ability to work with kind of the mechanics of it. Sometimes we can't. But there's definitely one on Newt that I can recall that I was like, man, I wish we had been able to use that, but it just didn't make sense in the context.
And JMac, you helped answer 2 of the meme questions I was going to pull up, which was one saying was, can we let JMac ask his questions? And the other was, JMac, what questions do you have? And there you go. That's the questions that JMac has.
That's a question.
Speaking of Celestial and Regal, how soon in the process was it like, this is going to be Lore Lady's voice?
Almost right away. Like as soon as we had confirmation that we could do it, and we heard from Suhaila that she was down, it was like, let's do it then. Why not? Everything's coming into place. We want to do this character. We want it to be voiced by the Lore Lady, and we got confirmation. Let's do it.
Did she have
like that.
Did she have the primary hand in like assisting to write the voice pack? Like I know that like a lot of the design team and people around the surrounding design kind of write the voice packs for it. Did she have a much heavier hand in it, considering she's, you know, been the Lore Lady for such a long time?
She didn't write the script, but we sat in a voice recording session, and there were some lines that she gave me feedback on that was like, oh, I kind of want to say it like this, or this feels a little bit more right, where it'd be like rearranging words, or maybe the like tone of a certain line would be a little bit different in how she wanted to deliver it versus like how I had imagined it, which like by all means, like she is the character, right? So yeah. I want her to still feel like this is her character, even though it's me writing the lines, you know what I mean? So she definitely did some adjustments to the lines to be better in character, but I did write the majority of like making sure that the character was saying all the lines that she needed to say.
And it's really weird because I feel like, you know, that's something that you would hear with insert any long-standing voice actor in a role they've played for a long time, but like we don't have that a lot of, because like most of the time it's like, hey, come in, be the new god, and then like you know, you might be this skin, like you will come back, but like it's not like you're just like the recurring this guy. Lore Lady's like literally I think the only person who could know her character that well, which is really impressive. Also chat, I yes, all of you are making the Newt spell jokes, like we get it. Yeah. They keep asking why we're not making them.
She makes a joke.
And so this
like
is
that.
me. Yeah, this is me acknowledging it.
I felt bad.
Who wrote the joke?
Yeah, who wrote it?
It's me.
Okay, all right.
It's really funny though.
It's Newt, not Nut. I'm not sure why the mortals find that so amusing.
I remember when you showed me that.
That is pretty good, actually.
Because the delivery on it is also really good.
She's very matter-of-fact about it. She's genuinely confused why they think the word Newt is funny and Nut is funny.
Someone said, I don't get the joke. Can you explain it?
I've had way too much media training. I won't even.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
The fact that I mentioned it at all is
I won't even
honestly
try and
bad on
dance
me.
around it.
Guys, my skin is crawling.
Yeah. So instead, I can ask this. Lermy specifically,
Yes.
question targeted at you. Did Thoth get nerfed because the Thoth ult killed you in Arena the other week?
I'm gonna probably say no because I played so many arenas.
I was gonna say, do you even remember this one?
Together, to be honest.
I hear the 50,000 hours Lermy was talking about a minute ago.
It's a lot of hours, but I also play a lot of arena. Arena is like the main mode that I grind a lot. I play basically everything, but a lot of arena. So firstly, I don't remember which arena that was, and secondly, it's not up to me. There's a lot of people making these decisions and a lot of data that goes into it. So I may have an opinion, and my opinion, may hold some amount of weight or get a conversation started, but it never goes past without having a variety of other forms of approval. So it's not like it's just me making these decisions.
Here's a question that is unique to, I think, you at this table. Maybe both of you might be able to weigh in, but Lermy specifically because you have all of the diamonds in the world. What's the best mode for that? Is it Arena? Like, is Arena the best one to, like,
it depends.
just grind them up?
It depends, because if you're asking me, like, genuinely, like, you want to know, the actual secret strats, it's play co-op until rank 4, because you get worshippers up until rank 4. So sometimes I just throw in a little podcast and just play a bunch of co-ops and, listen to my podcast, play against the bots, get to rank 4, save the mental a little bit of trouble. And then, depending on who I'm playing with, how many people I'm playing with, it'll either be Joust or Arena.
What I love, this is like an itemized revelation to me.
You don't get 130 diamonds without trying, okay?
That's literally what I was like. The minute you started with co-op, I'm like, oh yeah.
I didn't even realize that co-op got you to a level. I thought you stopped at rank 1 or 2 with co-op.
Level 4.
I didn't even know you. I forgot co-op was a thing.
Co-op is legitimate fun. When you get some allies that you can tell are really trying, they're really trying to learn the game.
You run into a really cool variety of people though, which I think is really awesome. They'll go, "Wait, I know you," or they'll say that in normal games too. But you can actually kind of have a
See, I hate it when you recognize me in game because I'm like, nah, bro. I don't no expectations. Pretend I'm a rando.
I go Mifflin ? I say only if we win.
Oh, that's a better response. And as such, Mifflin and JMac. For a moment, you can think any last questions that you might have. And while you're thinking about that, Lermy, is there anything about this patch that you just haven't been able to say that you really wanted to say?
Dude, I'm just so excited to play Newt. She has been a character that I've been really excited about for a long time, so I'm so happy she gets to finally be here.
Chat, please help me.
Well, you can just say no.
Yeah, come on. We can get one more.
I also really do think that there's a lot of fun balance in this patch. The Cerberus change is really exciting to me. And I'm really excited to just keep doing more exciting changes like that in the future. And I hope that we can keep making, these older gods. Oh my god, it makes me feel so old when I say Cerb is old, but he's at least 5 years old now. Which is
23?
I'm 26. Thank you.
Cerb was
on purpose? Oh my goodness.
Wait, Cerb was last got a season 3 going into season 4. I remember that.
It's pushing 30, am I right?
Literally,
he was. I believe he was 3 because I think he was 3.24 or 25. No, Morgan was the start of season 3, I think.
But Cerb was also the release god at Worlds, and Morgan was. So it was Morgan, Cerb, and then it was.
The community doesn't know what they're getting into.
When was Amma? Was it
No,
Amma, Morgan,
Amma was
Cerb?
the start of Amma. Maybe Cerb was season 5. Maybe it was 4.25.
I remember Cerb because the map was new as well. I played that.
Because Amma came.
Or R3.6.
Because Amma came out with the new Joust map at that time. If I
know
remember
things
correctly.
too.
Yeah.
I do remember Morgan at Worlds, and me thinking before I got to hear that she could turn into another god. I'm like, so what if she turned into a Morgan, and then that Morgan turned into another Morgan? It's just this constant conga line of Morgans.
Oops.
Launch was.
Well, I got my question. I'm ready.
Yeah,
Cerb was last of season 4. We got confirmation.
He's ready. You said you're ready.
Are there any other open domain mythoses that have been considered to pull from, similar to Cthulhu or King Arthur?
I don't know, honestly. It's kind of when we decide the gods, it's kind of there's a short list that's already kind of there when I get to it, just because I'm kind of the more junior designer of the group, comparatively, even though I've done this job for almost 4 years now, which is kind of crazy. the list comes to me and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't really know. Personally, I think it'd be cool to do just a variety of like more of the like, what's the word? Like, I think the mythos in Babylonia is really cool. So more of that, kind of exploring that realm.
Yeah.
Me personally, this is not a confirmation. This as a fan, I just want to put that caveat out there because I know people are gonna run with it. I really want to do Enkidu so bad because I think that would be a really nice little like pairing to have a Gilgamesh and Enkidu. I think.
And you're like a Fate nerd too, so.
I don't watch Fate at all.
Are you not a Fate nerd? Is that true?
I've never seen Fate.
Why do I associate you so much with Fate?
I don't know.
That was said with such confidence.
I was
too,
so certain of it. That's crazy. I will speak as a dev. Shakespeare. We put him in the game.
I thought you were.
And Sherlock
You
Holmes.
said that. I literally was just like, what recently went into like public domain? And the only like the most recent that I think we would ever.
Steamboat Willie.
I was gonna say Winnie the Pooh.
Steamboat Willie.
And Winnie the
Like
Pooh.
all the
They're
characters
coming.
from Winnie the Pooh.
Next Joust map's actually on the Thousand Acre Woods. So
Nice.
all the spoilers coming from Myth today.
Yeah, and it's in his contract. Like, he legally can't lie on camera.
Is that true?
I have no idea.
I would like to strike the last minute from the record.
He'd like to strike the last 2 hours from the record. Just anything in the event that it's been on broadcast, acknowledge it all with a grain of salt. J-Mac, you've had plenty of time to think.
I don't think I have any other questions right now. I think I asked pretty much the majority of what I would have asked during the show.
Okay.
So that's it.
Sorry.
That's it. I got nothing else.
J-Mac, never change, man. I love you so much.
I don't plan on it.
And you know what, chat?
I already asked my questions, Gore.
No, that's to say I don't have anything else because I think I got all the other questions out earlier.
He's found the knowledge that he was seeking.
Chat encouraged me to get my questions out earlier, so I did.
And they were adamant about it. One of them was a highlighted message. The other one came from a mod. So it was peak J-Mac time. I'm going to save myself. Hey, guess what? It's J-Mac time. It's time to get out of here is what we're going to do. So thanks for hanging around, chat, and thanks for talking to us and chatting with devs and picking at Lermy's brain and figuring out how a lot of this stuff happens and changes, and also all of the goofy things that happened in between while we were waiting for other questions. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody for joining me here at this table. And we'll see you the next time we have a Dev Insight.
Bye.
Peach it.